simple. Do something true, or make a sandwich for a friend. Hold the door for someone to. Facts still matter. It starts with you. Check on your neighbor, share what you can do. One small action turns into a wave. Do something today, be the change that you crave. Facts still matter, it starts with you. Facts still matter, it starts with you.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Happy St. Patrick's Day. So glad you're here. Top of the morning. You know, we know you've got many choices to make every single day, and we're super grateful that you choose to spend some time with us. So thank you. Are you wearing your green? I've got my green. I've got green pants, got green socks, got green other things too. Green with envy for how amazing you all are. I appreciate you guys being here. You know the drill. Tapping is clapping. Liking is loving and sharing is caring. Please consider contributing to the gifting goal today. Please consider joining our team. All the various things that help push ourselves out to the FYP. We appreciate that. Don't forget, we are still fundraising for the Do Something Tour. We are at $7,531. If you want to support the channel, a couple ways you can do that. You can either do that through Cash App, PayPal, Venmo. Any and all proceeds go to that. We have, as we start to spend money to make this event happen, we are building an accounting network, so you'll see exactly where your money's to go. Going to New York City at the end of this month for the No Kings protest. Going to be hitting events over the course of the summer, and then the tour starts in earnest this fall. 2 months on the road, listening to people, hoping to change some minds, agnostic as possible. The encouragement is to be involved in democracy because your voice, your vote, your presence does matter. Thank you very, very much. Head on over to the link tree that's in my bio. You'll find links to the Facts merch store, some brand new items there. This one as well, which I'm a big fan of human rights. Check that out. Also, join the Discord. If you've not done so, please consider doing that. You can find the link also to the link tree or in the link tree that's in my bio. If for some reason it doesn't work, and that does happen, you can either copy it and paste it into a browser or reach out to one of our amazing moderators, and they can help you out too by just getting you in. We ask that you just go through the various verification steps, and yeah, welcome to the family. Thank you guys for being here. I really appreciate you all very much. So great show yesterday, by the way, as we were breaking the red pill and asking the question, can men fix men? There's a lot of things that we didn't get to yesterday, and I'll kind of go back and I'll cover some of that because I think there's some important little nuggets that we do need to still address as we all work to just try to be better humans, so to speak. But first, let's check with our daily, the price of the pump. Gas prices now sit at $3.79 a gallon. $3.79. That's up 9 cents since yesterday. It was $3.53 a week ago, $2.91 a month ago, and $3.07 a year ago. In fact, the EIA tracks this monthly. Gas Buddy and AAA track it daily. This is the highest we've paid for gas since, let's see, 379. This goes back to the end. Let's see. It was 372 in May of 2024. And before that, it was $3.95 in September 2023. At that point, the prices were coming down, though. So not good. Not good at all. And it's likely to just continue. So, but thank you guys for being here. Of course, it won't matter to our friends on the right because they'll find an excuse, and we've already heard from the president. So there's that. All right, a lot of things to get to. Obviously, we have the war raging in the Middle East. But there was a famous press conference that the president did yesterday. There are so many things that we need to unpack, not only in that presser, but also in the Oval Office interview that he did. So I want to start with that because, you know, one of the things that frustrates most of us is how the president is there's just this lack of humanity, lack of decency, you know, lack of empathy, all the above. There's a couple of examples I'm going to play for you this morning because they are just disturbing. And I think it's necessary to kind of point this out because we see that kind of trickle into everything else that he does. Thank you very much. The pot of Gordai. But more importantly, a lot of his followers sort of feel the same way, just no empathy towards people. We hear it all the time, you know, the selfishness and people just concerned about their own pockets, their own wallets, their own livelihood, their own family, and no one else seems to matter. So there's a statement that I'll play for you first. You're going to hear the president discussing Gavin Newsom. And this is quite disturbing. So here you go.
A low IQ person, you know, because Gavin Newsom has admitted that he has learning disabilities. Honestly, I'm all for people with learning disabilities, but not for my president. I think a president should not have learning disabilities, okay? And I know it's highly controversial to say such a horrible thing. The president of the United States, Gavin Newsom, admitted that he has learning disabilities, dyslexia, everything about him is dumb. But
so now you're going to hear from Gavin Newsom's wife. I think she summarized it better than I ever could. So here you go.
I just witnessed Donald Trump's comments about learning disabilities and my husband, Gavin Newsom, and I honestly had to take a beat. Suggesting that someone with dyslexia or any learning difference for that matter is somehow less capable of leading or achieving is extremely ignorant and offensive. Dyslexia is not a measure of intelligence. In fact, quite the contrary. And learning differences do not determine someone's potential. On the contrary, some of the most successful leaders in business and the world have dyslexia. Day in and day out, Trump says things that make him unfit for office. He degrades our vulnerable communities, our institutions, even the Constitution itself. And somehow we're told to ignore it, turn a blind eye, pretend everything is normal. Guess what? It's not. And we're fed up. As someone who grew up in a Republican household, shame on the Republican Party for normalizing this vile specimen of a human being stationed at the top of their party. Mm-hmm. There are millions of kids in this country with learning differences who are already working twice as hard to keep up. Kids who are trying to believe in themselves. I know this personally. A few of my children learn differently. I see the
Thank you, Swishy Raiders. Appreciate you guys. Hearts in the chat for Swishy Raiders, please.
Emotions, the toll, the coping mechanisms, the extra hours, the grit it takes them every single day. And I know they're going to be fabulous. Learning differences don't make you less intelligent. They don't make you less capable. And they certainly don't make you less worthy of leadership. They make you special. And honestly, if we're going to talk about what's disqualifying in a leader, let's talk about that. A convicted felon, a man found liable for sexual abuse, a man notorious for degrading female journalists, a man with a track record for bankrupting businesses, a man whose name has shown up thousands of times in the Epstein files, a man who sends mass extremists to terrorize black and brown communities and rip kids away from their families, the most corrupt president in our nation's history. Everything that Donald Trump represents is frankly beyond disqualifying.
Jennifer Siebel Newsom, arguably a good shot of being a future first lady. So I was just curious. So as I'm wont to do, when something is brought up, I tend to research it. So most experts estimate, this is from the Yale Dyslexia Lab, the Yale Dyslexia Study. Most experts estimate that there's between 10 and 15% of Americans with dyslexia. That translates to roughly 35 to 45 million people. Some broader definitions, including milder forms, go as high as nearly 20%, or 1 in 5 people. Depends on how you define why the range is so wide. Strict clinical diagnosis is around 10%. Broader spectrum, including mild cases, is up to 15 to 20%. Tens of millions of Americans may have dyslexia, but many may have never been formally diagnosed. It is safe to say that between 1 in 10 and 1 in 5 Americans in general, have some level of dyslexia. So just to be clear, just to be very, very, very clear, this is what the President of the United States has to say about people with dyslexia.
With a low IQ person, you know, because Gavin Newsom has admitted that he has learning disabilities. Honestly, I'm all for people with learning disabilities, but not for my president. I think a president should not have learning disabilities, okay? And I know it's highly controversial to say such a horrible thing. The president of the United States, Gavin Newsom, admitted that he has learning disabilities, dyslexia. Everything about him is dumb. But
so I share that because it's obviously vile and disgusting. And based on the percentages, that means that some loyal Trump voters also have dyslexia. And he thinks that you are stupid. You heard it, not my words. It won't change your mind, though, will it? It won't change your mind. Well, I wish I could say that that was the only despicable thing he said yesterday. I don't know if you're aware of this, but there's a press conference that Susie Wiles was at and Mike Johnson was at, and there was this interesting little moment that came up as the president was talking about, well, rambling. Here you go.
And the Speaker of the House, he's got the easiest job of anybody in government. He's got a majority of 2. I don't like to say 1 because it varies, but between 1, 2, and 3. And I think you're the only man that's ever lived that's able to be very happy about it. In fact, when we get up to 3, you know, every once in a while we get up to 3. Actually, for a period of time, we had it up to 4, and then we had a death. And death is very bad when you're the Speaker and you have a majority of 2 or 3.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So that sort of sets the bar for what else I wanted to play for you, because this is the really disturbing part.
Of Florida had some real.
Hang on a second. He's talking about Neil Dunn. You'll hear this in a second.
Dunn of Florida had some real health challenges, and it was very serious, and had a pretty grim diagnosis. And I mentioned it to the president, and I said, Congressman Dunn is a real champion and a patriot because he's still coming to work. And if others got this diagnosis, they would be apt to go home and retire. And
what was the diagnosis?
It was, I think it was a terminal diagnosis.
He would be dead by June.
Okay, that wasn't public, but yeah, okay, that's it was grim.
And you can see bitch boy Mike Johnson being very uncomfortable with that. Very uncomfortable. Really, really nice.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
He actually called Mike. Mike called me and he said, "Sir, we're up by 3.
Wait for it.
We're going to lose 1 by June." I said, "Who?" Neil Dunn. He's a great congressman. Incredible. He called to say that he was terminal, really bad heart. There's nothing they can do. I said, that's bad. Number 1, it was bad because I liked him. Number 2, it was bad because I needed his vote.
That was a tough watch.
Yeah, a little bit more from that.
We had a death, and then we had another death, and we had some things, and but we're looking very strong. We had one man who was very ill. It looked like he wasn't going to make it. I don't know. I won't mention his name. Should I? Do other people know his name? Do you want to mention it? He'll be proud. Go ahead. Tell him the story.
Okay, well.
The president thinks it's a joke. Right? He just thinks it's a joke. I mean, you heard it. I just needed his vote. Gavin Newsom's stupid. People with dyslexia are dumb. He just thinks it's a joke. He just thinks it's a joke. Now, listen, it shouldn't surprise anybody. But when you hear it like that and you see him mocking it and you see him laughing about it, I just need his vote. I don't give a fuck. We've heard him say that before. We've heard him say that at rallies in the past. I don't give a shit about you. I just care about your vote. All right. Won't matter. People will find a way to defend it. It's really simple. Look, I don't know, when people's souls are that devoid of any kind of compassion at all when somebody's been diagnosed with a terminal condition. And then, of course, this guy got sent to the best medical care in the world. I don't know his current health condition. Apparently he's doing better. But he's going to have access to the greatest healthcare on earth. The best doctors, the best treatments, the best follow-up care. And meanwhile, the rest of us, we're fine. Gas prices are spiking through the roof. Job losses here and there. Social service programs being cut. Lies about elections. trying to disenfranchise people, right? But again, nothing to see here. It's totally fine. And again, as gas prices continue to go up, the situation in the Gulf was entirely our fault. And I'm gonna pause there just briefly because there's something I wanted to share with you guys because you're going to start to see this a lot. Oh, somebody's requested already. It's early. Guess not. Guess they changed their mind. You're hearing a lot of people on the right. Hang on a second. Good morning, Marshall. How are you today?
Good.
Marshall? Marshall? Okay. Well, thank you very much, ma'am. Sorry, I thought I parked my horse here. Guess not. Yeah, ma'am. You're hearing a lot of the Trump supporters and those in the conservative ecosphere trying to, again, figure out ways to justify this war. And they only go back to 1979. And I kind of figured that was going to happen. So I planned ahead. And we talked about this briefly a while back as this whole thing began. Because what you see is an unwillingness for our friends on the right to talk about the true history behind, I guess you could call it the relationship between the United States and Iran. Well, let's talk about it. Because it goes back long before 1979. And again, the legacy media is doing you a disservice by not covering this, okay? They're not telling the story. So initially, there was a pretty decent relationship between the United States and Iran. From 1948 to 1979, we were considered allies. This comes from the Encyclopedia Britannica. From 1979 to the present, obviously, hostile for a variety of reasons. The turning point was the 1979 Iranian Revolution, which replaced a pro-Western monarchy with an Islamic republic hostile to Israel and to the West. So, allies and strategic partners from 1948 to 1979. Iran under Shah Mohammad Reza Pahlavi was pro-Western. Hold on a second. Let me go back to this. This is a better summary. Is this the one I wanted? Yes, this is a better summary. Okay, give me a second. Sorry. Early relations and Cold War alignment. Before 1953, the U.S. and Iran were generally friendly with no major conflicts. Iran was strategically important because of oil and its location near the Soviet Union during the Cold War. From 1951 to 1953, Iran's democratically elected, again, remember, we were friendly, okay? There's a good relationship. Economic partnership, we were friendly. Arm's length friends, but friends nonetheless. In 1953, Iran's democratically elected prime minister, again, democratically elected Prime Minister Mohammad Mossadegh, Mossadegh, nationalized Iran's oil industry. That, of course, pissed off the Brits and the West, us included. So what did we do? 1953, the CIA backed a coup. The U.S. and Britain orchestrated a coup that overthrew the democratically elected prime minister and restored the Shah to power. The Shah ruled with strong support from the U.S. for the next 26 years. The impact, the U.S. gained a Cold War ally in its, Cold War against the Soviet Union. And then many Iranians, though, saw the coup as a foreign interference, creating long-term resentment. During this period, Iran became one of America's strongest allies in the Middle East. The U.S. provided military aid, economic assistance, and intelligence support. And Iran bought large amounts of American weapons and cooperated against Soviet influence. However, the Shah's government was authoritarian. His secret police, or SAVAK, S-A-V-A-K, supported by the U.S., suppressed dissent, and many Iranians blame the U.S. for supporting repression. So again, prior to 1953, allies, friends. We, the United States, did not like that the prime minister of Iran decided to nationalize their oil industry. So what did we do? We organized a coup to take him out and then handpick somebody that we wanted to run their country, the Shah. He led for 20 plus years, authoritarian rule, suppressed dissent, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, which then led to 1979, the Islamic Revolution. Iranian revolutionaries overthrew the Shah. The Ayatollah created an Islamic republic hostile to the U.S. Iranian students seized the U.S. embassy, held 52 Americans hostages for 444 days. The U.S. broke diplomatic relations with Iran. This permanently transformed the relationship into open hostility. And ever since then, right, you had the 1980 Iran-Iraq War. The U.S. supported Iraq. directly to contain Iran. 1988, U.S. shoots down Iranian passenger plane. The USS Vincennes shot down in the Iran Air Flight 655, killing 290 civilians. 2002, Axis of Evil. President George W. Bush labeled Iran as part of the Axis of Evil. In the 2000s, Iran developed nuclear technology. The U.S. feared Iran was pursuing nuclear weapons. 2015, Iran agreed to limit its nuclear program in exchange for sanctions. That's the JCPOA. You know all about that. 2018, Trump pulled us out. 2020, the U.S. unalived Iranian General Soleimani, dramatically escalating tensions. Iran responded. Missiles near a base, traumatic brain injuries, of which the president said they were just headaches. Recent developments include continued sanctions and proxy conflicts, nuclear tensions escalated, and then military confrontation, which we're seeing now. So why won't our friends on the right discuss the history? All they want to do is go back to 1979. Listen, no one is here defending the Iranian regime. They are absolute monsters. There's no doubt about that. And if you're willing to look at history, can certainly understand why a lot of Iranian citizens and citizens in general in that part of the world absolutely despise the West. They democratically elected their prime minister. They were happy. They were fine. They were functioning. There was a lot more rights in their country. And then all of a sudden they decide, you know what? It's our oil. Let's nationalize it. We can control this. It's our commodity. It's our resource. We're going to control it. The West and British, the Brits and the U.S. in particular didn't like it. So the CIA once again plans a coup, overthrow the democratically elected prime minister of Iran, supplants him with the Shah, authoritarian rule for 20 plus years, the rise of the Iranian Revolution. That's the history. And that brings us to today, right? It brings us to today with no fucking plan from this administration. So that's the story. That's the history. That's why we're fucking here. Nobody understands that. Well, listen, you're going to travel the TikTok streets, okay? You're going to see people talking about it. You're going to hear them bring up 1979. If you decide you want to request up, ask them why they won't go back to 1953. Why not? Why won't they go back to 1953? Out of curiosity. Because it doesn't support the story. In fact, the administration is also doubling down because they know full well that their followers and in their circle won't bother to do the work themselves. So, yeah, there's that. But again, gas prices at $3.79 going up. 13 service members that have lost their lives so far, soon to be more. It's fine, though. Justified. All right, here's some interesting reporting. This, again, happy St. Patrick's Day. Hopefully you're wearing your green. Please, actually, on that topic, I almost forgot I should do this. We've been honoring women of history throughout Women's History Month. And today I thought, since it's St. Patrick's Day, I wanted to talk about Sinead O'Connor. Born December the 8th, 1966 in Dublin, died July 26, 2023 in London, was an Irish singer-songwriter who was dubbed the first superstar of the 90s by Rolling Stone magazine. During her career, she attracted publicity not only for her voice, which was alternatively searing and soothing, but also for her controversial actions and statements. The daughter of a barrister, lawyer, and a dressmaker, O'Connor was born in Dublin. Her parents divorced when she was 8, and O'Connor and her siblings were sent to live with their abusive mother, who beat the children on a regular basis. Eventually, O'Connor left to live with her father and stepmother, but the child who had habitually shoplifted proved to be too troublesome for the couple, and they sent her to a reform school. Although O'Connor hated the reform school, it was there that she made her first contact with the music world. A teacher introduced her to the drummer of a local band in Tuanua, and for a brief period, O'Connor worked with the band and even co-wrote one of their hit singles. After a year and a half at the reform school, O'Connor was transferred to a boarding school in Waterford, but it proved unbearable, and she eventually ran back to Dublin, where she attempted to start her career on her own. In Dublin, she eventually joined the pub rock band Tauntaun, In 1985, while singing with the group, O'Connor attracted the attention of the London-based record label Ensign Records, which asked O'Connor for a demo tape. Soon afterwards, she signed a contract with the label and began her work on her debut album, The Lion and the Cobra, which was released in 1987 to critical praise. She followed the album with the largely autobiographical I Do Not Want What I Haven't Got in 1990. The album was propelled to the top of the charts with the strength of the #1 single, Nothing Compares to You, a transcendent cover of a 1985 Prince song. In the following year, O'Connor attracted attention not only for her singing, but also for a series of controversial statements, actions, and appearances, including refusing to appear on Saturday Night Live because of objections to the week's guest hosts, boycotting the 1991 Grammy Awards ceremony and declining to sing there, and refusing to allow the U.S. national anthem to be played before one of her performances. She also attracted criticism for her public support of the IRA and for tearing up a picture of the Pope on SNL in 1992. Sinead O'Connor, a badass, no doubt about it. So, again, happy St. Patrick's Day. All right. Like I mentioned yesterday or today, I want to we're going to go back a little bit and revisit some of the topics that we didn't unpack yesterday as we talked about breaking the red pill. How can men fix men, or can men fix men? There's a few things that I didn't get to that I wanted to get to, but I want to make sure we've got time to cover the news today. So there's a series of things that are happening this week in particular, and there's going to be a vote on the SAVE Act. I'm not going to really sure. Let me rephrase. I'm not sure if it's going to be a vote necessarily on the SAVE Act, but the SAVE Act is back on the radar, and I figured I would let Lisa Remillard kind of take you through it. This is what's up, and we'll talk about it when she's done.
It's going to be a big week for the Save America Act. It's going to be drawn out, might get a little messy, but in the end, will it actually pass, and will the Save America Act be the new reality for voters in this country? Let's talk about it. And yes, we're going to do some math in this video, so hang on. But first, as I have been reporting, the Save America Act is the bill that would require proof of citizenship. Not only proof of identity, but also proof of citizenship before you're even allowed to register to vote. And generally, that means you would need to present in person a passport or a birth certificate, and if you've changed your name, an additional documentation of that name change to your state election official to prove that you are indeed a United States citizen. And no, your driver's license does not count, and in almost all cases, your real ID does not count either. The Save America Act already narrowly passed in the House, but now that it's in the Senate, President Trump wants to add 3 additional items to the bill. He wants to add, #1, a nationwide ban on mail-in ballots.
Okay, that's related to voting. Sure, nationwide ban on mail-in ballots with some exceptions. Okay.
Except for those with disabilities, military members who are abroad, and those who are out of the country during election time.
Okay.
2, he wants to add a ban on trans women in women's sports.
What?
And 3, he wants to add a ban on gender-affirming care for minors.
Okay. So you want to add to the SAVE Act, in the president's mind, the most important legislation there is. And he wants to slide a ban on trans women in women's sports and a ban on gender-affirming care for minors into an election integrity bill. Okay.
Minors. Unclear what those last 2 things have to do with voting, but that's what the president wants. So here's what's going to happen this week.
Christ.
First, you need to know Senate Majority Leader John Thune and the majority of Senate Republicans, at least at this point, are not going to get rid of the filibuster, nor are they going to agree to reinstating the tucking filibuster. So we can just set those things aside for now.
Correct.
We know perhaps as soon as tomorrow, the Senate will vote to proceed on the House version of the Save America Act, which includes proof of identity at the polls and proof of citizenship before you're allowed to register.
So keep in mind, right, you guys know how this works, right? The House passed a bill. The Senate could vote on the bill as is, which they're going to attempt to try to do. But now since the president wants, a ban on gender-affirming care for minors and banning trans women from women's sports added to the bill, if it does pass, which it's not, it would have to go back to the House. So here we go.
Now, this will not be the final vote. This will just be the initial vote to move on to the next stage of the debate. To the math. So right now, the Senate is made up of 53 Republicans and 47 Democrats and independents. This first vote we could see, again, as soon as tomorrow, will only need 51 votes, a simple majority. Now, Republicans have
51 votes not to pass the bill, just to continue debate. So just be very clear as he's going through this.
Have 53 senators, right? So they could easily pass this on their own without any Democrats, but it.
And as a reminder, the math is 53 Republican senators currently and 47 Democrats. So for this to pass, you would only need 50-50, and then J.D. Vance would break the tie. This is not to pass the SAVE Act. This is just to continue discussion.
It is possible that some of these Republicans are going to vote no at this first vote stage. We know the Democrats are all going to be a no on this. So that means Senate Majority Leader John Thune would need to get all 51 votes from right here.
Correct.
So mathematically, that means he can only lose 3 Republicans and still get past this first hurdle. I say 3 because up to 3 Republicans can vote no, and then that would make it a 50-50 tie, in which case the Vice President, J.D. Vance, would come in and break this tie and make it 51. And then we move on to the next stage. By the way, this is a real scenario that could possibly shake out. I would keep your eye on Senators Tom Tillis, Lisa Murkowski, and Mitch McConnell. They have all sort of voiced some kind of skepticism over this bill.
And
so
Rand
after
Paul,
this first
and Rand Paul, too. He's one as well.
Procedural hurdle happens, normally the next step would be the Senate Majority Leader would move to invoke what's called cloture. That is just a fancy word that says, okay, debate is done, let's move on, break the filibuster, and then we'll get on to the final vote of this bill. Of course, to break the filibuster, you need 60 votes. We're going to get to that in a second. Because we don't think that Thune is going to, immediately after this happens, we don't think he's going to invoke cloture. Instead, he wants a big, public, showy debate to show President Trump that he's at least trying to.
Listen, John Thune knows he's not going to get to 60. John Thune knows that there's not an appetite in the Senate to remove the filibuster. He knows that. So now it's just going to be political gamesmanship. He is just going to have this extension of votes. There's going to be vote after discussion after discussion, debate after debate, so that he can, again, to her point, show the president that at least he's trying. This bill is not going to pass, especially since the president added bullshit to it. It's not going to pass. Okay? There's no way Republicans are going to do away with the filibuster because they know what's coming. Okay?
Get this bill passed. And we are going to see a debate. This could drag on for days and nights. And some people are talking about a week,
Correct.
10 days,
Or
maybe
more.
even 2 weeks. It is going to be a marathon.
Correct.
At some point, we are going to see amendment votes, at least on the issues that President Trump wants to add to the House version of the Save America Act.
Correct.
So on the 2 trans issues and on the mail-in ballot issue. And that's where the messy part comes in. See, the Republicans are going to force Democrats to take public votes on these issues,
Sure.
which could be tricky, especially if those Democrats are also up for re-election and perhaps if they're vulnerable. But in the end, while it all may be messy, those amendments are going to fail because they also need 60 votes to pass.
Correct.
And the Republicans don't have those votes.
Correct.
So to get to 60 votes, it would require John Thune to get all 53 plus at least 7 Democrats or independents to also say yes. That's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
So at some point in the next few days or 10-day or 2 weeks, Senator Thune, once he believes that everybody said their piece and the president has seen what he needs to see about this debate, Thune will eventually invoke cloture, and the Save America Act will need 60 votes to break the filibuster. Even Senator Thune has said publicly he does not have those votes. So at the end of this debate, whenever it may be, this bill will likely fail in the Senate because it just won't get these 60 votes. But you have to understand, this is politics, and this is really about, at this point, the show.
Correct.
The debate.
Correct.
The amendment votes.
Correct.
All to prove to President Trump that Republicans are trying to get his bill passed.
So there's that exceptional breakdown. So long story short, the math ain't mathin', right? There's just not enough of an appetite, including for members of the Republican Party, to do this. There's just not. Especially now that they've added these bullshit amendments, right? This anti-trans rhetoric that's fucking ridiculous. Of course, it just goes to show you who the president actually is. Because if he's talking about anything, he'd be talking about the Strait of Hormuz. He could be talking about Gavin Newsom, and he'll bring up transgender for everybody. Because that's just how vile of a human being he is, right? That's just it. It's not going anywhere. We will pay attention to it. We will cover it. It's not going to pass, okay? It is not going to pass. There's no way in hell it does. There's not enough appetite for it. There's not enough support of it. So, no, it's not going to happen. Got a request.
Hi, brother, from Syria.
Alex.
I need help. I am refugee.
Good morning, Alex. I got you. I'll mute your mic, and you can, your friends, if you decide you want to help out our friend Alex here, please feel free. Get him to 1,000. Get him to 1,000 coins, and we'll move on. So again, the point is in this story is that this is you're going to see dirty, messy, ugly politics over the next couple of weeks, more so than ever, likely, only because it is performative. It is a show. John Thune is a smart guy, okay? He knows this is not going anywhere. He is attempting to try to protect some of his vulnerable Republicans that are in the House. That's his goal, okay? I think that the obvious here is that what it's going to do is it's going to expose the Republican Party even more because they cannot legislate. They have to try to cheat. This bill is ridiculous. It's not going to pass. You cannot deny people the right to vote. People in this space are just sitting there thinking that, hey, you need an ID to go buy liquor. You know what I had to do? When I went and bought my truck nut polish, they carded me. Why did they card you to buy that? Well, because they thought I wasn't old enough to own truck nut polish. Well, you know what? Polishing your truck nuts is not a right. It's not. Polishing your truck nuts is not a right. Driving is not a right. Buying alcohol is not a right. Voting is a right. And that is the difference. That's what our friends on the right don't understand. Voting is constitutionally protected, and you cannot put a financial barrier in front of anybody's constitutional right to vote. It's a poll tax. They don't know what it is. I'm so wrong? Okay, Jason, get in the box. Tell me why I'm wrong. And you spelled your wrong, by the way. It'd be YOU''RE. Go ahead, Jason, with your American flag. I just sent you an invite. Come in the box and tell me why I'm wrong. Go ahead. I'm waiting. Go ahead, Jason. You can come in. You can tell me you said I'm wrong. You spelled your wrong. It'd be YOU''RE. It'd be a contraction. You are so wrong. So when you contract it to make it easier, your would be like your house or your truck nuts or your tidy whities. So feel free, Jason. You probably won't, though, because I wouldn't either to able to have that conversation. Anyway, it's not going anywhere. It's unconstitutional. John Thune knows it, and it's not gonna go anywhere. With that being said, it is going to be politics at its worst over the next couple of weeks. A lot of grandstanding coming from both sides. Now, if there was legislation that was introduced that would guarantee everyone, the federal government, but through taxpayer dollars, would grant everyone a passport, I would fully support that. I would fully support it because it wouldn't be on our dime. It would be the federal government paying for it, right? They would say, you know what? We're going to give every American citizen a passport which then does prove citizenship. Give people 6 months to acquire one. And then if you want to institute it for off-year elections in 2027 leading up to 2028, I could support that. But people like Jason, who again is too much of a coward to come in the box and try to prove me wrong, that's what they think. They think that you gotta have an ID you gotta have an ID to buy your truck nut polish. Anyway. All right, this is an interesting story. Again, we have a lot to cover today, so if you guys want to support the channel, you know how to do so. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo in support of the Do Something Tour. Please consider gifting. Please consider tapping. Let's see, there's 1,600 people in here. We're at 100,000 likes. Let's see if we can get to 300,000 likes before 9:30. That'd be great. All right, so leadership, in my opinion, the best leaders, and I've been very fortunate to have been had a lot of really great mentors in my life. The best leaders surround themselves with great people because any good leader shouldn't want to be and should never claim to be the smartest person in the room. You want people around you that are smarter than you. There's trusted advisors, and you lead by example. That's the whole key, right? So there's a story about an Army general who left classified maps on a train, who was concussed after overindulgence in alcohol, the Inspector General report said. This came out last night. U.S. Army Major General Antonio Aguto, who oversaw the command that coordinated, trained, and equipped Ukraine's military, left a tube of classified maps on a train to Poland for more than 24 hours and was concussed from falling after overindulgence in alcohol during a dinner in Ukraine, a recently released Pentagon Inspector General report found. The 56-page report, which was published on Friday, found the now retired two-star general who led the Wiesbaden, Germany-based Security Assistance Group Ukraine, or SAG-U, brought the classified maps during a trip from Germany to Ukraine in late March of 2024 and assigned control of them to his staff. Quote, "We found insufficient evidence to determine who had control of the classified maps once the travelers boarded the train for the return trip," the watchdog said in the report, adding that travelers left the maps in the train when they arrived back in Poland on April 4th of 2024, and the U.S. Embassy in Ukraine recovered the unattended documents a day later. When he got back to Wiesbaden, Aguto was told by his executive officers that the tube was gone. Classified information is typically transported via courier. It was not ordered at the time, the report said. MG Auto took responsibility for this incident. You know, again, these are just people in power. I don't give a fuck who the administration is. I don't give a shit what your status is. Incompetent people in power are just that. Incompetent people in power. And I am done with it. I am so fucking done with it. I want adults in the fucking room. So there's that. Okay. Let's get into some of the other topics I wanted to cover off on today. So the situation, hang on one sec. Hold on. Okay. There is talk of troop movement, right? So I'm going to play some sound from Air Force One, and then I have a question for the men who are part of the press pool on this plane.
5,000 Marines and sailors. Can you explain why you're
very obnoxious person? Go ahead. What were you going to say?
Okay, first of all, it was another woman reporter asking a question about troops, and he does this, and then says, "You're a very obnoxious reporter." Where the fuck are the men in the press pool standing up to that bullshit? As we discussed before, this is a see something, say something. Now, I understand the dynamic here. They would lose their jobs if they did that. They would be pulled. They would not be part of the press pool anymore. They might lose their position in the media. They may not. Again, you get the gig to cover the White House as a news journalist. That is it. That is the top. There's nothing above that. You're covering the White House. In particular, you get to go on Air Force One as part of the press gaggle. And here this guy is, once again, he's shushing a female reporter and calling her obnoxious. Quiet piggy, what are you, stupid? So, I don't know about you, but I would be shown the door on Air Force One if that were the case. But here's the rest of the interview.
I wanted to ask if you talked about about selling oil futures as a way of capping prices, trying to keep prices down at the pump.
The prices are going to come tumbling down as soon as it's over, and it's going to be over pretty quickly.
Yeah, do you ever smile? Exactly, Mama Gus Bus, right? Scott, but is he wrong about Piggy? Scott, are you a misogynist? Are you a misogynist too? You must be. So that's an example. And then the question about troop movement. So he doesn't want to get too far out ahead of it, but neither does Caroline. Remember, Caroline is from New Hampshire. I'll just leave that with you.
Like he needs 2,500 or so Marines in the Middle East right now.
I would defer you to the Pentagon on that troop movement, and it's not something I'm going to get ahead of the Commander-in-Chief on. Yeah, and look, I'm not going to get ahead of him on any options that may be on the table for the president.
Okay, got it, understood. Memo, sir, not today, friend, not today, so please stop requesting. Thank you. Okay. Here is another example of Caroline Leavitt trying to echo the sentiments of the Oval Office. They have no clue how they're going to manage this. This has to do with gas prices.
Rest assured to the American people, the recent increase in oil and gas prices is temporary, and this operation will result in lower gas prices in the long term. Once the national security objectives of Operation Epic Fury are fully achieved, Americans will see oil and gas prices drop rapidly, potentially even lower than they were prior to the start of the operation.
Sure.
And we,
of course. Yeah, of course. You're so right about that. There's reporting that from The Economist that say even if this war ended tomorrow, it's going to take a year or more for gas prices to stabilize. So good luck. Well, here's the justification again, right? But again, nothing to see here. That's totally fine. It's nothing to see here. Nothing to see here. It's completely fine. The war is irrelevant. It's something that we have to do. We have to make sure that we're protecting our shores. Again, we destabilize regions. We are the bullies on the block. We're the ones that cause this. We're the ones that are always responsible. So here's a little sound nugget for you from the president taking credit for all kinds of things. This is from that infamous press conference yesterday. This is crazy.
The straight that it would be a weapon, which I predicted a long time ago, predicted all of this stuff. You guys were very generous in that. I predicted all of it. I predicted Osama bin Laden would knock out the World Trade Center. I made that prediction a year before he did it. I said, you better get him. He's a bad guy. I watched him be interviewed one time, and I said, that's a bad guy. You better get him. 1 year before, exactly. I wrote it in a book. You can even check. About a year before the World Trade Center then came down, President Clinton actually had a shot at him, and he didn't take it. Unfortunately, I'm not blaming him for that, but he didn't take it. And he ended up knocking down the World Trade Center, but I predicted that too. I predicted a lot of things about the straight that it would be a weapon, which I predicted a long time ago, predicted all of this stuff. You guys were very generous in that. I predicted all of it. I predicted Osama bin Laden would knock out the World Trade Center. I made that prediction a year before he did it. I said, you better get him. He's a bad guy. I watched him be interviewed one time, and I said, that's a bad guy. You better get him. 1 year before, exactly. I wrote it in a book. You can even check.
Right. See, I told you I was wearing green. See? Green all the way down. Yep. That's the president of the United States, ladies and gentlemen. That's him. That's the president of the United States. I know, Dano. Graham's found the mic again. Telling people that he predicted 9/11. He's the same guy that also told lies about 9/11. That he said he saw Muslims gathering, right? Just as a level set, you're going to hear this is Christian conservative Christian nationalist pastor Greg Locke. I'm bouncing around a little bit today because it's all related. It's all related to Islamophobia and anti-Muslim sentiment, etc. This is Greg Locke is a very prominent Christian nationalist preacher in the MAGA movement. This is what he had to say.
Democrat, I don't even want you around this church. You can get out. You can get out, you demon. You cannot be a Christian and vote Democrat in this nation. I don't care how mad that makes you. You get pissed off as you want to. You cannot be a Christian and vote Democrat in this nation. They are God-denying demons. CNN can eat my dirty socks. You cannot be a Democrat and a Christian. You cannot. Somebody say amen. The rest of you, get out. Get out. Get out in the name of Jesus. We are here.
Meanwhile, these are liberal churches of people talking about peace and love.
Our love for each other will carry us through. Yes, it will. Yes, our love for each other will carry us through.
I don't know. Did that sound demonic to you? I don't know. Not to me. Anyway, I don't know who this is. Okay, I guess he passed on the invite. All right, what's going on here?
Hi, brother. How are you? Please.
Sorry, not today, bro. We can't do it all morning long, friend. I appreciate that. I appreciate you jumping in, but we can't do it for everybody all day, every day. All right. So the reason I share those clips, the reason I do it like that is just to remind people, right? We've got the history of Iran. We know we know what's happened. Our friends on the right won't. They believe that the left is in support of Iran. No, we are in support of the Iranian people because we are humanists, right? I am so fucking tired of suffering in general. It's irrelevant to me. I don't put a label on someone just because of their particular affiliation. Individuals are what matter to me. The community are what matters to me. Humans are what matters to me. No love lost. The Iranian regime, despicable, vile. Would the world be a better place if they weren't in power? Sure. But to lie to the American people as to why we're there? And again, I see some chirping in the chat this morning, right? Why won't you guys talk past 1979? Why won't you do the work that I did? Why don't you understand why it is that sentiment about death to America came about in the late 1970s, early 1980s, because of what we did to their country? To do what? Get more fucking oil? Come on. That's why we're here. That is why we're here. That and Bibi Netanyahu lying to the West, lying to the American public for decades. Gaddafi was 2 weeks away. Saddam was 2 weeks away. The Ayatollah was 2 weeks away, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Prove me wrong. That's the issue. This is the issue that I have with the ecosphere. And the ecosphere is just going to get worse because we know the consolidation of media under Trump's friends, Zuckerberg and the Ellisons and Elon and Bezos, et cetera. They're building this right-wing echo chamber, and they don't want the press to talk about it. We will. So this is the president suggesting that other nations should now get involved. You've probably heard some of this, but I'll play it for you anyway.
Depend on the Strait far more than ours. You know, we get less than 1% of our oil from the Strait, and some countries get much more. Japan gets 95%. China gets 90%. Many of the Europeans get quite a bit. South Korea gets 35%. So we want them to come and help us with the Strait. We have it in very good shape. The countries, I said, we've already taken care of Iran, but now because of the fact that literally a single terrorist can put something in the water or shoot something or shoot a missile, a small missile, and it's fairly close range because it is a tight area, and which is one of the reasons they've always used that as a weapon. Iran has always used that as an economic weapon, and it's not going to be able to be used very long. Numerous countries have told me they're on the way. Some are very enthusiastic about it, and some aren't. Some are countries that we've helped for many, many years. We've protected them from horrible outside sources. And they weren't that enthusiastic. And the level of enthusiasm matters to me. We have some countries where we have 45,000 soldiers, great soldiers, protecting them from harm's way. And we have done a great job. And when we want to know, do you have any minesweepers? Well, would rather not get involved, sir.
What?
I said, for 40 years we're protecting you, and you don't want to get involved in something that is very minor. Very few shots going to be taken because they don't have many shots left. But they said, we'd rather not get involved. I just want the fake news media and everybody else to remember that was said, because I've been a big critic of all of the protecting of countries, because I know that we'll protect them. And if we ever needed help, they won't be there for us. I've just known that for a long period of time, just like I knew about the Strait, that it would be a weapon, which I predicted a long time ago, predicted all of this stuff. You guys were...
Trump has called on global powers to assist in securing the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. president has urged other nations to help maintain security in the strait, one of the world's most important oil shipping routes. Speaking from Washington, he said countries whose economies rely heavily on the strait, which, by the way, includes ours, should play a larger role in protecting the maritime traffic. He specifically mentioned Japan, China, South Korea, and European nations, saying their economies depended significantly on the vital waterway. The strait is a key global energy corridor through which a large share of the world's oil shipments pass, making it strategically important during periods of regional tension. And typically speaking, when you build a coalition, you generally would do it in advance. You might want to consider lining up those things in advance. Like, you know what? Listen, here's what's going to happen. This is likely going to turn into a regional conflict. And we know from past experience when things are tight in that particular region, because of Iran's proximity to the strait and because of all their proxies and everyone else, we might need some help. You do that in advance. If you don't do that in advance, this is what happens. And don't forget, Iran has now come out with a statement that says, listen, we'll let boats go through as long as they're not U.S. and or Israeli with that condition. And condition number 2 is that you trade oil in Chinese yuan as opposed to the U.S. dollar. So Iran's in this for the long game. They are not going to, there's not going to be an unconditional surrender. This is again, the bravado, the machismo, the saber rattling that Trump and a headset of others have tried to convince their base that we're the bully on the block. We can boss anybody around. We can tell anybody to do whatever the fuck we want and they'll bend the knee. And that ain't happening. This entire year plus of the Trump administration is resetting global trade, is resetting allies, is resetting currency, all this shit. It is not good and it's self-inflicted. No doubt about it. Good morning, my dude. How are you today?
Good morning. Can we just go through that? Oh, hello there. Can we go through that litany of lies? And let's start with 1979. Let's just go ahead and do that. What Americans think actually happened in 1979 is propaganda. The truth about 1979 is that Ronald Reagan went behind the back of President Jimmy Carter.
Correct.
Through back channels. So that he could look like the hero. But what people what people don't remember is, why is it that the United States military was stripped down to nothing? Meaning we didn't really have the ability to quite do what we needed to do in today's terms. There was this little Republican war. It was called the War in Vietnam. And as a direct result, we stood our military not only down, but stripped down the military-industrial complex. We should have kept that going, but, you know, capitalism be damned, right? Money's got to be made somehow. Okay, so fast forward to when I actually served on a minesweeper in a gunboat in Operation Praying Mantis. I don't know if we still have them, but we used to have about half a dozen minesweepers. They were located up in the Seattle-Tacoma area. 1 or 2 were at the Bremerton base. So we used to have these minesweepers, right? And what we know is that while we were out there, the last time this happened, no other country donated, lent a single ship or a minesweeper for the operation because it wasn't needed. So let's just dispel that bullshit rumor. There's not a single overseas military base that has ever been established, staffed, and built up for the protection of the country that it resides in. Every single overseas base is about the United States of America and flexing power. No one is there to protect the other country. So we got to stop with that lie, right? Trump has never predicted how to tie his shoes or what shoe size somebody wears. If you don't get the shoe reference, see floor shine.
Exactly.
So here we are today, right? Do you remember the 6 Ps about piss poor planning?
Yeah. I forget
right?
what they are. But piss
Yeah,
poor
it's something
planning
like piss poor
preaches.
planning and makes you the idiot basically at the end, right? Because you didn't plan this out and you're scrambling. You're the idiot. Someone needs to look up the 6 Ps. It's not really a true thing. It's just one of those lore things, right? But it's often said in the military, right? Basically, piss poor planning.
Prior planning prevents piss poor performance.
Right.
Prior planning prevents piss poor performance.
Now let's think about that, right? Because in this particular situation, it's incredibly apt.
Yeah.
Now, imagine you have this thing called the United States Navy. And in it, there are these persons called historians. And one could say, if they were the Secretary of Defense, go to the historians and say, hey, can you and some really smart people that work here tell me how long it would take to recommission or to negotiate with an existing Navy to get minesweepers assembled somewhere near the Gulf, not in the Strait, because that's you gotta get to the bottom of the Strait, not the middle. Sure, we can do that. So that's going to take 3 to 4 months worth of planning and moving of things. You've got to shift the fleets around, right? Because a minesweeper is a really super, super tiny boat. And the front half of it's made out of wood, by the way, because you don't want metal ships with sea mines. In case you don't know, see any cheesy World War II movie. And so by the time that's done, you're really at 6 to 8 months, right? So let's say they had followed that plan. Gas would still be about $3.79 a gallon here in Los Angeles County, not $5+ a gallon.
Correct.
Children at a school would still be going to school. The lies that have been told nonstop for 30 years would once again have been ignored. And the actual people that need freedoms would have seen that the United States and other countries were trying to do something to once again help them out. But let's talk about 1953. Okay. But let's really go back to
we did
no,
that.
No, I know. I know.
Okay.
But it's not 1953. You got to remember the entire Middle East lays at the foot of England. All of these problems are British colonialism. So for those chirping in that want to talk about how facts is wrong and doesn't understand history, if you can't get in the box to have a conversation, if you're not willing to learn the actual truth versus the John Wayne version you grew up with, this is a you problem.
Correct.
We're not getting anything wrong. We're trying to help put a light onto the truth. And with that, I'm going to get in the car and I'm going to go to the airport and I'm going to fly to Atlanta.
Safe travels, my dude. Let me know. I know that's on your flight today. Safe travels, okay? Let me know when you get there.
Peace and love.
I love you, buddy. Peace out. Peace out. Be safe. He's right. I mean, again, this military intelligence, they joke, right? There was no plan here. There was no plan. This was, don't forget, there are numerous emails, examples of Epstein talking about Trump launching a war against Iran to provide deflection and cover for the Epstein files. Okay, we know that's part of it. We get it. We know that's part of it. It's not because of a nuclear threat, because they obliterated everything. It's not because of they were threatening the U.S. homeland. It's got nothing to do with that. Bibi Netanyahu finally convinced an American president to attack Iran. Biden said nope. Couldn't get Trump to do it the first time because there was adults in the room. Obama said nope. Even George W. Bush, of all people, said no. Right? Obama said, you know what? We're going to do better. We're going to use diplomacy. We're going to use diplomacy. We're going to institute the JCPOA, and it was fucking working. And they get Trump, who all they have to fucking do is stroke his fucking ego, and they send people in, and we've got gas prices spiking, you got the economy in the fucking shitter, more American lives being lost, billions of dollars a day, an economy that's already cratering, on the verge of collapse, depending on what metric you want to look at, and here we sit. And here we sit. And the no new war cucks, this is what you said. We could agree. I could sit across the table prior to the 2024 election and talk about one topic. Could we agree? Can we agree that we no longer want American intervention, that we don't want to be sending brave men and women to foreign shores to fight battles over bullshit? We could probably shake hands and move on. And here we sit. Because I was told that if I voted for Kamala Harris, gas prices would spike. The inflation would be skyrocketing. The economy would be in tatters, right? We would have foreign wars. Well, I did vote for Kamala Harris. She didn't win, but all those things happened. But again, nothing to see here. That's fine. That's fine. Nothing to see here at all. That's totally okay. Jesus. Hi, Anna. How are you today? Anna? Oh, maybe not. Okay. You can come back if you want to, Anna. Bassman, I just sent you an invite. You said I'm funny. I know. I'm actually hilarious. You know, in my own mind, I am so funny. But I'm curious though, because you're asking me you said that I'm funny. What's making you laugh? Do you not want to try to learn something? Because you're sitting in this little space, and sir, you're the problem, not me. Bassman. What's so funny?
You're funny.
Why am I funny?
Your whole show is a joke.
Is it? So what's a joke about it?
Everything that you say is a joke.
Like what? Give me one example, sir. Give me one. Just give me one.
You're an idiot. Every single thing. So
just give me. How about okay? So that if it's every single so that it's every single
a joke, dude.
Sir. So if it's every single thing, then
You're
tell me one.
You're an idiot.
So tell me one then. Tell me one thing that I'm an idiot about.
Everything.
Tell me one thing. Tell me one. Let's talk about one.
Everything you say about Trump, everything you say about MAGA, everything you say about anything that has to do with it.
Did Trump lie to you or not? Did Trump lie to you or not? He didn't?
No.
He didn't. He didn't lie to you?
No.
Why are your gas prices up to $3.80 then?
Why do you think they are?
I wasn't the one that made the promise, man.
Do you even know why we're in the Middle East right now?
Oh, I do, but wasn't the promise no new wars? And I bet I know what you're going to say. It's not a war, right?
Well, it's not really. It's kind of a one-sided situation, yes, but
is it
at the same time? Yeah.
Well, didn't he promise you that though, Bassman? What's the good reason?
He's going over there and he's taking care of radical Islamic terrorism.
Really? Is that what he's doing?
Yeah, really.
Because they haven't told us that. They told us that it was because of oil.
No,
they told us it was because of
straight up.
Because
he
it was
said it straight up. You just don't.
He also said it was about the. No. He also said it was about the nuclear threat too, right?
In plain English, he has said it.
Bassman, did he or did he not say it was about the nuclear threat?
You are a fucking idiot, and you do a stupid show. And you think a lot of people, you think that you're.
But you're here.
I passed it up, and I just checked it out momentarily as I come through.
Oh, I've seen you in here before, though.
Oh yeah, I check you out from time to time.
So why did Trump call it a war?
Sometimes
why did Trump call it a war?
And I stop by and see how you're doing.
Bassman, why did Trump call it a war?
Why did he call it a war?
Yeah.
It's a war. That's why he called it a war.
It's a war.
It's a war.
So what about no new wars?
Well, you know what? Sometimes shit happens, and you gotta, go back on a little word there to take care of the situation.
So we should just start a war then?
Well, it's not just starting a war for no reason. There's good reason for it.
What's the reason?
Do you want radical Islamic people taking over the United States?
Are they?
Yes.
Really? You have evidence of that then, obviously, because nobody would be that stupid to make a claim like that without evidence.
Oh, well, all you have to do is take a look around you.
Like where should I look? Should I look behind me? I don't see any back there. Where should I look? Where should I look?
You are a fucking idiot.
So the uncomfortable laugh tells me everything I need to know, right?
Oh, it tells you everything you need to know.
So do you enjoy being a gullible cuck, or is it something new for you?
Well, I think you enjoy a big cock in your mouth. That's what I think.
Oh, there's the homophobia, sir. You have a good day.
Yeah,
Take
there
care.
it is.
Nice. Gotta love that, man. Woof. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. I know. Just insults. That's fine. No problem. I can take it. Sponge one Bob. Okay. Good morning. Good morning. Hello? I guess not. Good morning, Shelley. How are you today? Shelley, are you there? Shelley? Okay. It just gives you an indicator, right? And this, we talked about the last days of the cult. It's like the death rattle, right? Notice, can't debate politics. Only chooses to use ad hominem insults, which is the reason that I exposed him, because that's what's part of this. This is the cycle that we're in now. I'm not afraid to talk to anybody, but the problem is when you are so desperate to try to cover up for your lies and the lies that you've been told and the fact that you're gullible, that's what you're left with, right? So back to the show. This is an interesting soundbite. This was the president being interviewed in the Oval Office by Peter Doocy, and we'll talk about this in just a minute. This is like a minute long, but this is a wild take claim by the president.
I want to ask you about something very interesting that you said twice today. That you talked to another former president about the Iran strikes.
I did.
Was it George W. Bush?
No.
Was it Bill Clinton?
I don't want to say. I don't want to say. Because
Barack Obama.
a member of a party, they have Trump derangement syndrome, but it's somebody that happens to like me, and I like that person who's a smart person. But that person said, I wish I did it. Okay, but I don't want to get into who.
Okay.
I don't want to get him into trouble. Maybe, hey, you know what? Yeah, I think you probably know. You know, it's interesting. And maybe he'd be proud. And I could even ask him that, would you like me to reveal your name to Peter at Fox? Well, at least you have high ratings. Your ratings are through the roof, Peter.
Yes, thank you for noticing.
Congratulations.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey.
So the claim is that a former president told him that he did the right thing by invading Iran. Hey, President Trump, 45, should I invade Iran? Yeah, President Trump, 47, you should invade Iran. Therefore, I talked to a former president and said, he looked in the mirror, right? And he looked back at him and said, yeah, I'm going to invade Iran. There's been public records from Obama, from Biden, from Clinton, from Bush, have all said the same thing. Nope, we never had that conversation with the president at all. So once again, ass crack man, and you're in the chat while you're drinking your pina colada. I think it's probably a strawberry daiquiri. Do you put your finger out when you drink? You should. It's very elegant, very sophisticated. When you're sipping it and you're having your pineapple on pizza, because you're probably one of those people, due respect. Would you like to explain that to me? Because it's a grasshopper. It's definitely a grasshopper. Yeah, it might have been Carter. Exactly, Jimmy Carter. It was Jimmy Carter. So would you like to try to defend that? You probably can't, can you? Right? Because none of the former presidents have even alluded to any conversations with the current president about this. I know, Melissa, many do. I'm going to lose followers because of my opinion on pineapple on pizza. It goes against my Italian roots. I just can't do it. Anyway, I thought that was an interesting moment for the president to try to double down in that bullshit. Okay, a few more things from from people from past administrations. You're now going to hear from George W. Bush's former energy secretary, energy advisor, about the situation in the Gulf when it comes to gas prices in particular. So here you go.
In the White House during an energy crisis, there are no policy solutions to a prolonged closure of the Strait of Hormuz.
You're saying there's not much a White House, a president can do to stop.
His name is Bob McNally, by the way.
Stop this bleeding.
You open up the toolkit, and the tools in there, the options range from marginal through symbolic to deeply unwise. Escorts are a sideshow. Strategic stock releases are a sideshow.
Gas tax holiday?
Gas tax holiday, sideshow. You got to restore the flow of the Strait of Hormuz.
Even if the White House, President Trump declared an end of this war today, tomorrow, is there any guarantee that Iran would open up the strait and it's back to business as usual?
No guarantee. It's not like there's a big gate that swings open in front of the Hormuz and Iran locks the gate. So all Iran has to do is demonstrate every day, every other day, that it has the means and the ability to attack ships in the strait, and that will be enough.
So for anybody thinking there's a quick fix, again, we're talking about resetting supply chains. The best analogy that I can come up with is I saw this fascinating documentary on LA traffic from a few years ago. And they had cameras and time-lapse photography, and there was an accident in one of the in the middle lane of a 5-lane highway, okay, at rush hour. One accident affected the traffic patterns for like 5.5 hours because you had to move traffic to lanes, you had to close a lane while you cleared it. It literally impacted traffic for 5 hours. I use that analogy on things like this. We saw the same thing post-COVID. It took a long time for supply chains to recover. Same situation we are in here right now, right? So this is a self-inflicted disaster at the hands of the Trump administration because they have no fucking clue what they are doing. There is no plan. If you knew the strait was going to be attacked, like you claim, Mr. President, then why did you not plan in advance? Or did you make the phone calls in advance and all of our allies said, nope, this is on you. Sorry, but no, this is on you. You created this. It's going to take a long time for gas prices to drop. In fact, they're going to go up. They're going to be, my prediction is they're going to go above $4 a gallon nationally. And then what's the argument going to be? You're going to blame it on Joe Biden then? What about Biden? Biden's not the president anymore. I don't care. You know what he's doing? He's going around in the middle of the night. He's flying on Santa's sleigh and he's raising gas prices at every single pump. Wait a second. So Joe Biden, who's got prostate cancer, he was frail, who's an old guy. You're saying that he's hopping on Santa's sleigh? Damn fucking right. Damn right. I didn't think you believe in Santa, aren't you, Chris? Well, that's different because this is gas prices. What about Biden? Nothing to see here, though. It's totally fine. Anti-MAGA, anti-leftist, get the fuck out of here. You're not welcome, bro. You're part of the problem. Don't bother coming back.
I just want you to know that he came up with the concept of a plan that was a concept of a plan, and now it's failing.
Yeah, I mean the concept of the concept of the concept of the plan.
It's like having a meeting before you have a meeting. Makes no damn sense.
Exactly. This could have been done with an email.
Yep. Talk to you later.
See ya. Thanks a lot, man. Oh, I know why Manny's here. It is election day. Good morning, my friend.
Yes, it is. It's election day for who? Illinois.
Illinois. Correct.
And if you hate the fact that I said Illinois, you better go out there and vote. You better vote the S off of it. You better go and vote. It's primary statewide. Illinois. You hate it? Vote it off. Go vote, everyone. It's primary.
Didn't one of the candidates in Illinois have fuck Trump? A fuck Trump ad that got a lot of controversy, right?
Yes. No, but seriously, everyone, it's a statewide primary for Illinois. I believe it's like 117, 118 state districts with like 17 US. It's primaries everywhere. It's primaries everywhere in Illinois. Please go and vote. For all you crunchy leftists, I was regrettably in a crunchy leftist live last night. I don't know what I was doing. You want to find your Zoran Mondami candidate, more power to you. This is where you do it. Go shop around in the primaries and pick your candidate, put them in the basket, and then go vote for them. Please go get your Zoran, get your Ramsey in California. Go and find them in Illinois and vote for them. Get out there and vote.
Correct.
This is where you do it. You don't want, you're tired of the corporate Democrats telling you who to vote. Then vote for the person that you want. Go out there and do it.
Correct.
Do that.
Then,
yes,
when the general election comes along and your candidate is not the one that you wanted, you still vote for the Democrat because that's harm reduction. Plain and simple, full stop.
Yes, 100%. All of these primaries obviously are going to come ahead in November. So that's when you're locked in all power to that. But right now is your choice. As far as special elections go, I know I didn't say much about the Louisiana on Saturday. Two of the races were head to head with two Democrats. One of them, Baton Rouge, the district I was actually born in, still went red. I'm very disappointed in that. But we move on. All special elections are still up for re-election in November as well. That being said, Pennsylvania, 2 special elections for, I believe, 2 House seats. And I think it's a House or it's a Senate and a House seat in Pennsylvania are also today, as well as Virginia. I think it's like Virginia's 98 or something. Virginia has a special election. Pennsylvania has 2 special elections, and Illinois, you guys have statewide primaries. Please go out and vote. Please go pick your representative, pick your fighter. I don't care how you want to, market it. Just please go out there. Please do the good stuff. Vote. We need more. We need to continue that blue wave. I love when people say we have a blue wave, but if you guys wait till November, it's going to be like a blue splash or something. Like, we need to continue this.
Correct. Keep in mind, Boca Raton, Florida, friends. Use that as your benchmark as to how and why your vote is so important. That election came down to 5 votes, and then they did the recount, and I think it was 1.
Yes.
So 1 vote. Two Democrats decided to stay home, and that seat does not flip. That's how important this is. That's a mayoral race in Boca Raton. That mayorship has not gone to a Democrat in like 35 fucking years, something like that. It's crazy. It's crazy.
That's why it's great. It's great, mm-hmm. And I'm going to echo that before I drop. Florida has been targeted by Republicans since, I want to say, 2014, actually. And they have been slowly trying to flip Florida from being the swing state, purple state, to Republican. And it's not a Republican stronghold, but it did go Republican in early 2022 for the midterms into 2024. They have been spending a lot of money in Florida. So the fact that we have, Democrats showing up and showing out for those mayoral races, for those state races, even those federal races, it means a lot. Your vote does matter.
Indeed. Well said, my dude. Thank you very much for our weekly Manny check, and that's why I didn't bother building a lot of content around the election today, because I knew you'd be here. I thank you, my friend. You have a good day.
Thank you. I love you, and I love all of you. Bye.
Love you too, man. See you later. Roger Knight, you had an interesting comment. You said, who are Democrats going to hate on when we take back power? We are not fanboys. We, people on the left, will criticize bad policy. We'll criticize bad behavior, and then we'll hold them accountable. And when the time comes, we'll vote them out. That is a fundamental difference between us and you, Roger. You, just like Ass Man, who came up here earlier, thinks that your boy can do no wrong. You are lied to every single day, and it doesn't matter to you. You are literally, in bright colors. You might as well have a sign or just get "I am a gullible cuck" tattooed across your forehead, because it doesn't matter what the president tells you. You will believe it. It doesn't matter what he told you, what he ran on. It doesn't matter what he said about immigration. It doesn't matter what he said about gas prices. It doesn't matter what he said about inflation. It doesn't matter what he said about no new wars. It doesn't matter what he said about the economy. It's all flipped upside down, and you'll just take it. You'll grab your ankles and raw dog it because you fucking like it, because you're subs, all of you. And you know what, Roger? I still want you to have health care. I still want your family to have access to capital. I still want your family to have access to high quality public education. I still want to make sure that if things go really bad for you, you can still get food. It's that fucking simple. Do you understand? That's the difference. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Hi, Snarly. How are you today?
I'm losing my mind. But I wanted to use you, Steve, because I love your show and I love your content. I think you're amazing.
Thank you.
But
Thanks.
with everything that's going on in the world right now, I don't think a lot of people realize what they're doing in Minnesota. And I'm not talking about ICE. But if anybody knows anything about the boundary waters and in Minnesota, they're our fucking Republicans are trying to sell our national parks off. And the boundary waters, that's the first one they're trying. And the vote's coming up this week, I think. But I need everybody to call their Congress, their representatives or whatever. They're trying to allow a Chilean mining giant called Antofagasta, probably saying that wrong, to allow them to mine in the fucking national park. And it's the most visited national park in the country. It's pristine. The water is so pure. It's the best water we have in this country. And they want to put a Chilean mining company, allow them to mine, and then send all that to China. It wouldn't even stay here.
Of course.
So
follow the money. Follow the money, right? Follow the money, Sterling.
It's all about the money, and it's the Republicans doing it. But I just wanted to share because I hate that I don't have better news.
It's okay. I mean, we talk about the news. It's not always fun to cover, but we do it anyway.
Right.
Thanks for jumping in today, Snarly. I appreciate you for being here and
Thank
for your
you. I
support.
appreciate you.
You got it. Have a good day. Be safe out there. These are the stories that maybe that go underreported, but I appreciate her bringing that to our attention. Let me thank Marva. Marva, thank you so much for your kind contribution for the do something to her. I appreciate you. That's very kind. Again, you want to support the channel, you can do so. Cash App, PayPal, Venmo, at Factsstillmatter. All those proceeds and all those donations go to support us as we're marching towards 25K to get me out on the road. We're going to do it in increments to start. Going to New York for the No Kings protest. Got a couple of plans for content. Going to be meeting somebody down there who's offered to help with some technical stuff. Going to be going to events over the course of the summer, most of them regionally, so I can just drive there. And then the tour is going to kick off this fall. And the plan is to be on the road for 2 months, agnostic as I possibly can, just getting people to come back and vote. I would even sit down with Ass Man and put Ass Man on blast and say, Ass Man, why are you voting against your best interests? Ass Man, you know what? I want you to have health care, Ass Man. And Ass Man wouldn't show up because he'd be afraid because he can hide behind a profile picture and not really be willing to engage in real conversations. But that's just me. Silent, how are you today? Silent K? Silent, are you there?
I'm right here. Yeah, my headphones grabbed a hold of that. Sorry about that. I just want to echo a similar point that's happening over here in the great state of Oregon.
Okay.
Similar land sale is also due to happen. They're voting on it right now in the Congress, voting to sell off the last remaining great forest here in the state of Oregon. So anyone who's in the state of Oregon, you need to call your representatives and you need to say, hey, we're against this. This is the last old growth forest that exists in the state, and we're about to lose it. And it is at the hands of our very own Cliff Bentz. District 2 If you're not voting against this guy, you need to get out and vote. That's all I got.
I appreciate you, friend. Thanks for being here. Thanks for jumping in today. This is why voting's important, you guys. I got to just deal with something real quick. I'll be right back.
Facts still matter, so stand up, lean in. You don't need a cape just to help someone win. Do something simple, do something true. Make a sandwich for a friend, hold the door for someone too. Facts still matter, it starts with you. Check on your neighbor, share what you can do. One small action turns into a wave. Do something today, be the change that you crave. Facts still matter, it starts with you. Facts still matter, it starts with you.
So I just got a propane delivery. I saw the truck pull up, and we have an issue with I had an issue with my tank, and I just want to make sure the guy was good, so my house doesn't blow up, because that would be a drag. But thank you guys. Thanks for your patience. I appreciate you. All right. Everybody keep tapping and sharing, please. Tapping, clapping, liking, loving, sharing, caring. Don't forget about our gifting goal today. Don't forget about joining our team if you've not done that yet. I appreciate you. Okay. Do I what? Do I own my own tank? It's weird. In our area, you can't own your own tank. You have to rent it, which is part of the complication. I had to move it, so I had to get permission to do that. And yeah, that was not fun. Hey, brother, how are you?
At top of the morning to you, Stephen.
To you too, sir.
And may you be in heaven an hour before the devil knows you're dead.
There's that.
There's that. Listen, one story I don't think is getting a lot of play is the fact that him lifting the sanctions on Russia for the oil is huge, because Russia's really in a bad shape right now. I mean, there are military leaders falling out of windows again. He's shutting down the internet in Moscow. So they're really in bad shape. So him lifting the sanctions, letting them sell oil to India and so forth, really is a big boost for Russia and Putin.
Correct, it sure is. There's actually been reportings of rumors about an internal coup in Moscow. It's been rumors so far, friends. I haven't reported on it because it's been nothing but rumors at this point. But you're right. Opening up, releasing or removing the sanctions and lifting sanctions on Russia, it benefits Russia.
Yeah.
Who, again, follow the fucking money.
Oh, absolutely. And what people are with the MAGA people in here especially don't grasp with this whole thing is, we can take out a lot of Iran's weapons. We know that. And if we can't, there'd be something wrong, because we spend more than anyone else in the world on our military. I think the next 10 countries combined spend less than us.
And like 8 of those are allies.
Yeah, and if we weren't able to do what we're doing, that'd be really something wrong, because all the money we spend. But the fact of the matter is, you can take out all that weaponry, you leave the regime in place, they'll rebuild. They still have oil. They still have ways to do it. Eventually, they're going to rebuild, and now they're more pissed off than ever.
Sure, exactly.
And
more future generations will continue to be pissed off at our country.
Exactly.
Yep.
And it's a perpetual thing. And BB's happy, but the question is, Iran's not going to surrender. They're not going to surrender, and unless they want to put boots on the ground, which would be extremely bloody if that happens. That's not going to go well at all. I mean, eventually would probably take over, but it's not going to be an easy, quick by any means. It's not going to be Iran where they're just going to drop their weapons and go, we surrender. In Iraq. It's not. That's not going to happen. They're just going to keep fighting. So, I mean, he put us in a quagmire with no plan.
No plan.
He's pissed off all our allies. I mean, as someone pointed out, look, wondering why our allies aren't coming to help us. Well, our allies had to put troops in Greenland to defend them against us. So, right there, that should tell you,
I know. It's not a good look, but
No.
you keep fighting the fight, my brother.
You
Thanks for
too.
jumping in today. I appreciate you.
All right,
Have a
take
good day.
care.
Be safe out there.
You too.
You too. Yeah, I mean, a common theme of our show all the time, friends, is follow the money. And yes, we did this breakdown last week about removing or lifting sanctions so Russia can sell oil. I mean, we literally have choked off their economy because of these sanctions. You know, Ukraine is taking back territory in the Donetsk, right? They're you know, the United States, all this posturing against Ukraine, the United States asking Ukraine officials for help in taking down drones because they've been so effective at it. And now what are we doing? We're making things easier for Russia? I mean, what? Come on. But again, that won't matter to the cucks. They don't care about that. They don't care. They'll find some way to excuse it. Some way, somehow. Some way. Good morning, Jack. How are you today?
Yeah, hi. Thanks for having me up.
You got it. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I just think it's quite a dire situation. I try to figure out what Americans actually think they're doing in there. So I'm not American. It makes very little sense to me. And I wonder if, you know, your priorities seem to be back to front in this. I don't know if you're Americans, I'm saying you, but not just I'm actually addressing you as an American. But America's priorities seem to be back to front. They're abandoning Europe and siding with Russia, enabling Russia to gain back control over some of their resources at the expense of the American people. It's crazy.
Correct. That's not uncommon, though. That seems to be the most recent approach to U.S. foreign policy, is to just continue to stick our nose in places where it doesn't belong.
Yeah, but I think it's worse now. I mean, I'm roughly, I guess, your age, white beard too. So it used to be that America just meddled, but now I think they're actively selling you out.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about that. It's been that way for a long time. We sell ourselves out internally by providing tax breaks and subsidies for corporations at the expense of the middle class and the working poor. So that's happened a lot.
You've been bleeding your own country from the bottom to the top.
Correct.
Wow.
Correct. But thanks for jumping in today, sir. I appreciate it. Thanks for being here. You have a good day. Be safe out there. It's a fair point, right? Here's the situation. It's the same thing that we always do. It's the same process all over again. This is Putin's long game. Yeah, we're going to break that down in just a second. Big Stick, how are you today? Big Stick, how are you today? Got a lot of feedback, sir. Hello? Okay, I guess not. It was a weird name, I agree. The ship sails. How are you today?
Oh, man, sorry. I didn't mean to come up here.
No problem. Thanks for being here. I appreciate you. Have a good day. Be safe out there. And then I see Cheryl. And we'll clear the box, and then we'll start to rebuild. And then I've got a couple things I want to get to. Everybody keep tapping, please. Appreciate y'all very, very much. Cheryl, are you there? Looks like Cheryl might have timed out. Okay. So again, we talk about this often. This entire thing is Putin's long game. This is why we always. I'm not afraid to make the connection about leverage that other world leaders have over Trump, whether it's Epstein or whether it's other things. Personally, I think it's that and Trump's financial crimes. His entire empire was built on financial crimes. So that this is Putin's dream. Do you destabilize the American electorate? Check. You create you use rhetoric to delegitimize NATO. Check. You get a fracturing of Western allies. Check. You get the formation of the Board of Peace, which again is an attempt to dismantle the UN among other agencies. Check. You talk about taking Greenland. Who benefits by access to that waterway? Russia. Check. You go and have the United States invade Iran, destabilize oil markets. Then oil is a commodity for Russia. They got a lot of it. And then the United States lifts sanctions against Russia as their economy is crumbling. Check. Where else should we go? This is Putin's fucking wet dream. And he's got the perfect guy because all Putin has to do is stroke the fucking ego. And our president will give him whatever the fuck he wants. Now, two things can be true. Do I believe that because Trump is such a fucking narcissist that what I just said is true? Stroke the ego, you'll get whatever you want? Absolutely. But Putin and Bibi and others have leverage. There's no doubt about it. Selling out Americans because of Trump's own crimes, because of his connection to the E-files, the twice impeached, four-time indicted, sexually abusing fraudster, convicted felon, name on a list, predator, racist. Plain and fucking simple. This is an interesting little bit of sound that I wanted to play for you guys because I forgot all about this. I had this a while ago, then it popped back up again because people were discussing or trying to defend Donald Trump's blatant fucking racism, which is so easy to debunk. Let me just play this for you because you'll be like, oh yeah, that tracks. Oh, where is it? Hang on a second. That's not it. That's not it. Sorry. Couldn't resist. Hang on. Everybody keep tapping, please. Don't forget, if you want to support the channel and the Do Something Tour, here's something you can do for us. You can actually go to the link tree that's in my bio and follow the Instagram page, which is the Do Something Tour IG page. That would be great. I'd really appreciate you doing that. That's probably going to be a spot where we're going to use to track or to update a lot when we're out on the road. We'll use this space as well, but IG's got some advantages that the TT does not. Let me just find this for you really quick because this is very telling. I'm not as organized today. I didn't sleep very well last night, so I'm scrambling a little bit this morning, but that's fine. Give me a second. Got some sound too that I'm going to play from new reporting about Epstein Island, and it's pretty disturbing, but I'll play that for you because I think it's necessary. Here you go. So this is Caroline Leavitt. This is from just a couple weeks back. She's talking about Trump's use of social media.
Consequences of it. Sure.
Thank you, Caroline. President Trump just said on Truth Social that it would be a big mistake for the UK to hand over control of Chagos Islands to Mauritius. But the State Department earlier this week has said the U.S. does support that handover. So does this post now suggest that the U.S. does not, or that President Trump had changed his mind on this?
The post should be taken as the policy of the Trump administration. It's coming straight from the horse's mouth. When you see it on Truth Social, you know it's directly from President Trump. That's the beauty of this president and his transparency and relaying this administration's policies to all of you and to the rest of the world.
So just to be clear, Caroline, just wanted to make sure I understood this correctly. You just said when it comes out on Truth Social, you know that those are the words of the president, and you can take his word for it. Let's just get the quote exactly again.
To reap the consequences of it. Sure.
Thank you, Caroline. President Trump just said on Truth Social that it would be a big mistake for the UK to hand over control of Chagos Islands to Mauritius. But the State Department earlier this week has said the U.S. does support that handover. So does this post now suggest that the U.S. does not, or that President Trump had changed his mind on this?
The post should be taken as the policy of the Trump administration. It's coming straight from the horse's mouth. When you see it on Truth Social, you know it's directly from President Trump. That's the beauty of this president and his transparency and relaying this administration's policies to all of you and to the rest of the world.
Got it. Just wanted to be sure I knew exactly what that was. You heard it, friends. You heard it. That is the press secretary letting you all know that if it comes out on Truth Social, those are the words of the president. So we were told it was a staffer. Is it not a staffer? But the video, it was an assistant. Right, exactly. Yeah, so I have to do this real quick. Hang on a second. I think it was this. Hang on. Okay. So again, I think it's interesting. Every time they open their mouth, they tell us the truth. Here's some of the other quotes that were connected to this, to that soundbite I just played for you. From Governor Newsom's press office. Unless it's racist, then suddenly a staffer grabbed his phone. So the racist Obama video he posted was done by him, right? The United States doesn't dictate policy by using social media. Nothing posted on social media should ever be taken as policy, and until there is a congressional approval of any policy, it doesn't exist legally. This is from Won't Delete This. When you tell so many lies that you forget what you lied about, nobody believed an intern is posting on Trump's behalf on his personal account. So again, I'm going to keep that soundbite forever. When someone says to me that Donald Trump is not a racist. He's a full-blown fucking racist. And people trying to defend that. Yeah. So Steve, you said that Iran's nuke program wasn't obliterated several months ago. That's not what I said. No, what I said, Sticks, was the administration told us that Iran's nuclear program was obliterated several months ago. That's what they told us. So the question I have is, if that's the case, if it's obliterated, just real quick, Sticks, just real quick. The definition of obliterate is to destroy utterly and or wipe out. The memory was so painful that he obliterated it from his mind. That's obliterate. They told us that Operation Midnight Hammer, they told us that Operation Midnight Hammer obliterated the Iranian nuclear program. So if it was destroyed utterly or wiped out, then how just 7 months later were they a week away from producing weapons-grade plutonium? Track that, please. Explain that to me. Because I didn't make the claim, they did. No, Sticks, that's not, okay. The Department of Defense, the president, and others said that the Iranian nuclear program was obliterated. That's what they said. So pay attention, okay? Pay attention, Sticks. That's what they said. Pete Hegseth said that. Caroline Leavitt said that. The president said that. Marco Rubio said that. The CIA said that. All those involved. General Kane said that. The program was obliterated. Now, one of the justifications they said to go to war with Iran was because Steve Witkoff, who's not even an official government employee, said that the Iranians were 1 week away from having a weapon. So how is it that something that was obliterated 8 months ago is now 1 week away from having a weapon? Do you understand? Sticks, you're right. They were either lying then or they're lying now. Which is it? Which is it? If they obliterated the program then there's no possible way that they're a week away from developing a weapon. If they weren't lying then they're lying now. Or if they were lying then, or if they weren't telling the truth then, you get it. Do you understand? We've been tracking this. I'm sorry that you're having a difficult time keeping up. That's the situation. The entire thing is one big fucking lie. Yeah, they're lying then and they're lying now. I think it's called Pitchfork Mountain, something to that effect. What the right is attempting to say now is that, well, they didn't take out Pitchfork Mountain because the Iranians wouldn't let people in there. Well, they weren't subjected to inspectors anymore because of the fact that Donald Trump pulled us out of the JCPOA. And by the Pickaxe, thank you. And by the way, Pickaxe Mountain was a storage facility, not a centrifuge. The primary centrifuges were the ones, Fordo and others, that were obliterated. So which is it? Anyway. Okay, a few more things here. Where's this piece? And then I want to get into I want to kind of close the loop on our conversation yesterday. A name that's not being mentioned enough that may be a potential presidential candidate on the Democratic side is Jon Ossoff, senator from Georgia. Dreamy, smart, talented, great speaker. And he had this to say about our president.
But last night, the White House put a video on social media that depicted this war as a video game. Did you all see that? When American service members killed in action are returning to the United States in flag-draped coffins, and even more Americans have lost limbs or suffered terrible brain injuries or are fighting for their lives, this White House treats war like a game, and it's a disgrace. And it speaks to the moral rot of this administration.
Mm-hmm. Sounds pretty presidential, doesn't he? Yeah. Thank you, Cookie. Cookie said, that's not it, sir. Salt and pepper reference. I caught it, and I somehow love you more. Hashtag do something to her. Thank you. I'm glad you caught that. I'm not sure anybody else did. But he's right. I mean, you put out an ad, and you like it's a video game, and 13 lives lost. Isn't that the number? 13 now? With hundreds more injured, some of them seriously. That death toll is gonna go up. We know that. To what end? Again, I'm not here to try to change the minds of MAGA. If I do, that's great. That's great. I will talk to anybody. I have absolutely no problem talking to anybody. That's the entire point of the Do Something Tour. More importantly, I'll listen to anybody. But come on. Come on. This is fucking serious. Jon Ossoff, Ossoff. He's a senator, junior senator, or a senior senator, actually, from Georgia. Come on. You have to understand that you've been lied to and how bad this is going to get. When we get the economic numbers that come out in April from March, that inflation number is going to be off the fucking charts because of gas, because of energy prices. I haven't paid over $50 to fill my tank in a while. I very rarely fill my tank because I work from home. I don't do a lot of commuting. I go visit my clients a couple days a week. But aside from that, $52 to fill my tank. My daughter comes home last night and she's like, why is gas so expensive? Well, let's talk about that. She's like, is that because Trump bombed Iran? I'm like, yeah, pretty much. pretty much. So yeah, anywho. Hippie Chick, how are you this morning?
Hey, sweetie. Good. How are you? First, I want to thank you for all your hard work. But
thank you.
This just came up on the television, and I don't know if anybody knows this yet, but we have a major resignation. Joe Kent is resigning his position as director of the National Counterterrorism Center, effective today. And he says, I cannot in good conscience support the ongoing war in Iran. Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation. And it is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. And that was at 9:24 this morning.
Yeah, I just got that. Thank you, Brooke. I'll get into that story. I'm not surprised. Yeah, top counterterrorism official Kent resigns over Trump's Iran war, says Iran posed no imminent threat. The director of National Counterterrorism Center has announced his resignation, saying he cannot, in good conscience, back the Trump administration's war in Iran. Joe Kent says in social media that Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. Kent is a former political candidate with connections to right-wing extremists. Kent was confirmed to his post in July at 5244. This guy is hardcore MAGA, and he bailed. Nice. Thanks for bringing that to our attention, Hippie Chick. I appreciate you as always, friend. Thanks for being here. You got it. Thank you. The rest of the story. Well, that's it. Again, Kent is a former political candidate with connections to right-wing extremists. Kent was confirmed to his post last July on a vote of 52-44. He's the director of the National Counterterrorism Center, has announced his resignation, and he cannot, in good conscience, back the Trump administration's war in Iran. So, Ass Crack Man and others, you're chirping in the chat, right? Do you understand what we have been trying to tell you? There is no justification for this war. None. None. There is no justification for this war other than our president bending a knee to Bibi Netanyahu. Yes, I said it. My opinion, I'll speak my own mind. There's no doubt in my mind that's where this comes from. Because for 30 fucking years, Bibi has been trying to get an American president to do exactly what Trump did. Right? Didn't work with Bush. Didn't work with Obama. Didn't work with Trump. Didn't the first time. Didn't work with Biden. And yet, here we are. Here we are. Who stands to benefit? The I country, for one. Russia, Iran, especially if they can renegotiate and rebalance global trade on when it comes to oil by moving away from the United States currency, which is again the currency used, to the Chinese yuan. That cripples our economy. I don't think people understand how bad that could be. That cripples. We have no fucking adults in the room. There are none. There are no adults in the room. And now we lose a guy who is in the fucking circle. This guy's a right-wing extremist in a very important position in the DNI, who's a National Counterterrorism Center director, saying he cannot, in good conscience, back the Trump administration's war in Iran. He said on social media that Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby. But Bassman will defend it because Bassman knows better. And a lot of the fucking hosts that have got their fucking backgrounds up talking about, we're fucking kicking Iran's ass. Yeah. You people are so fucking lost. And part of me, the empath in me, feels really bad because you've not been paying attention. We've been telling you this shit. As a reminder, we were told, that if we voted for Kamala Harris, our economy would crumble, that gas prices would spike, that there'd be a rise in domestic terrorism, and that we'd go to war with Iran. Guess what? I voted for Kamala Harris, and all those things happened. Funny how that works out. Again, the director of National Counterterrorism has resigned. His name is Joe Kent, and he is we can call him a right-wing extremist. Yep. Yeah. And don't forget, our president said this about illegal immigration in general. He was trying to reference, this is when he was on with Brian Kilmeade the other day.
Others are just bad. They go bad. Something wrong. There's something wrong there. So the genetics are not exactly. They're not exactly your genetic. It's one of those problems, Brian. It's a terrible thing, and it happens. And it happens too often. Shouldn't have been let in. Others are just bad. They go bad. Something wrong. There's something wrong there. So the genetics are not exactly. They're not exactly your genetic. It's one of those problems, Brian. It's a terrible thing, and it happens. And it happens too often.
You want to tell me again that the president is not a racist fuck? Anybody? Anybody really still believe that? When the president of the United States says that brown people's genetics makes them prone to violence. But he's not racist, right? So I was on with Sinjay, I think it was on Saturday, and I kind of made a prediction based on the call. I said, listen, I'm gonna offer you something, sir. I'm gonna explain to you why I believe what that post was is racist, and you're going to say it's not. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. It's exactly what happened. No, that's not racist. What's worse, though, is that individual who's a member of the Hispanic community said, I think she's in here. I think I saw her. Yes, you were there. She knows exactly what I'm talking about. What's worse, hi, Sanjay. What's worse is that gentleman was talking about a racial slur used against his community that he considered racist. Sanjay, a cultural anthropologist, explaining the history of those types of tropes. Tony, our friend, DJ Tony, a black man in America, talking about how, in fact, yes, that's racist. And this person was like, nope, it's not. That's not racist at all. And yet, his own community hears this from the president.
Shouldn't have been let in. Others are just bad. They go bad. Something wrong. There's something wrong there. So the genetics are not exactly, they're not exactly your genetic. It's one of those problems, right? It's a terrible thing. And it happens. And it happens too often.
Right. Trump complained that while some immigrants should never have been allowed into the country, others eventually go bad. There's something wrong there. The genetics are not exactly your genetics. It's one of those problems, Brian, Trump said to White House Fox News host. It's a terrible thing, and it happens too often. Trump is an old school eugenicist, nativist. He actually is fine with immigrants as long as they have the right genes. David Beer, director of immigration studies at Cato, said, this argument was the basis of the creation of the restrictive U.S. immigration system 100 years ago. Mask off, but not really, because he doesn't do much to hide who he really is. It's pretty obvious if you're paying attention to Trump, because it's not the first time Trump has linked immigration to genetics. In an October 2024 interview, he claimed murderers with bad genes were living in the U.S. The year before, he echoed rhetoric used by Schmittler when he said immigrants were, quote, poisoning the blood of our country. These racist sentiments would include the Iranian community he alleges to care about. Unfortunately, parts of his administration and base feel this way too. About the entirety of the Middle East, Trump's advisor, Laura Loomer, a MAGA podcaster who is very racist against the Middle East and has zero foreign policy experience, has said since the start of the war and in general prior that everybody in the Middle East needs to die. But only brown people are violent. Reportedly, Laura Loomer was one of the first calls Trump made after he started the Iranian war. Strange. He listens to advice from a voter more than his Pentagon intelligence. When will it be accepted that this guy is exactly who he presents himself to be? Many of them in his circle formerly hated Trump just a couple years ago, like Vance, calling Trump as America's Hitler in 2020, but are now playing dear leader. Yeah. Speaking of JD, on that particular topic, this is what's called a segue, friends. Hang on a second. This is what's called missing a cue, Steve. I hate that. It's fine. I'll get over it. Where is it? I think I've got this here. On that very topic, right? About how the people in his cabinet, the people in his inner circle, those his closest advisors, so many of them had such disparaging things to say about the president. Not only his racism, not only his warmongering, not only his nihilism, not only his just disregard for the American systems, for his degradation of the courts, for his degradation of the media, and then they get a sniff of the taint. I mean, a sniff of power. Ooh, sorry. And this is what happens. So JD Vance being called out.
Given your past statements with the current operation.
What do you mean there's no hesitation with my past statements?
Given your skepticism of foreign adventurism, you were a critic of the global war on terror previously.
Well, I think one big difference, Phil, is that we have a smart president, whereas in the past we've had dumb presidents. And I trust President Trump to get the job done, to do a good job for the American people, and to make sure that the mistakes of the past aren't repeated. Absolutely.
What? I'm sorry. What? Okay. Okay. That's good to know. Well, JD, oh my God. I'm sorry. That just makes me laugh. because I've got a little soundbite from you, JD, because this is what I do around here, right? We save these kinds of things so that we can call out your fucking bullshit when it comes up. Statements that you've made in the past about what would happen if, I don't know, if Kamala Harris became the president, for example. If Kamala Harris was the president, what did you say about Kamala? Where is it? Right here. Here you go. This was on the campaign trail.
Kamala Harris, send our sons.
Hold on. Here you go.
Harris, send our sons and daughters, our young people, to fight in stupid wars. It is the young generation that carries the burden of that. We're going to stop sending our young people to faraway lands. We are not the policemen of the world. We need to use our young people here at home.
But if you're worried about the world spinning out of control, if you're worried about a military draft, if you're worried about, God forbid, a world war, the best way to prevent it is to vote for Donald Trump.
Okay. Here's the sound from last night.
So there's no hesitation, given your past statements, with the current operation?
What do you mean there's no hesitation with my past statements?
Given your skepticism of foreign adventurism, you were a critic of the global war on terror previously.
Well, I think one big difference, Phil, is that we have a smart president, whereas in the past we've had dumb presidents. And I trust President Trump to get the job done, to do a good job for the American people, and to make sure that the mistakes of the past aren't repeated. Absolutely.
So, TJ, we're going to hold you to that, sir, that you're now going to vote for Tallarico. I'll hold you to that. I know this may be your last minute attempt to get back in the thruple, but if you actually do make that commitment, TJ, and go out there and vote for Tallarico, then maybe, just maybe, I will put your thruple application at the top of the list. So that's something for you to look forward to. Anywho, I wish that our friends on the right could listen to those segments back to back. That's why I try to play them like this, because I know we have a big audience. When JD Vance out in the campaign trail basically says, yeah, well, if you vote for Kamala, we're going to be sending your sons and daughters to foreign wars. If you vote for Kamala, we're going to be involved in another endless war where innocent lives will be lost. And now when he gets a sniff of power, well, I trust the president. The question was, so there's no hesitation giving your past statements with the current operation? You were a critic of the global war on terror previously. Vance, well, I think one big difference is that we have a smart president, whereas in the past, we've had dumb presidents. Okay. Just want to make sure I read that correctly. Cool. So we covered Ossoff. Here's just this is a little side-by-side here. And then I'm going to play the president dunking on himself in his own press conference.
Tomahawk, which is one of the most powerful weapons around, is used by, is sold and used by other countries, you know that. And whether it's Iran, who also has some Tomahawks, I wish they had more.
No,
but whether it's Iran or somebody else, the fact that a Tomahawk is very generic. It's sold to other countries.
No.
Look, nobody has the technology or the weapons that we have, and the Patriots are an example of it. We have the Tomahawks. We have the Patriots. We have stuff that nobody's ever been able to produce, and they can't produce it like us.
Okay, that's fine. Nothing to see here. Yeah, it's all good. No sweat. We've got them, but we've got them. Everybody else has them, but nobody else has them because we've got them. Just as a reminder, since it is day 88 of the Trump administration not releasing the Epstein files, just as a reminder, these are people in Trump's inner circle that are connected to the e-files. The president himself, Melania, Howard Lutnick, John Phelan, who's the Secretary of the Navy, Paolo Zampoli, who runs the Kennedy Center, RFK Jr., Secretary of HHS, Mehmet Oz, who's the Administrator for Medicaid, Medicare, Elon, former DOJ appointee, Steve Bannon, former Senior Advisor, Alex Acosta, former Secretary of Labor, Bill Barr, former Attorney General, and Brett Ratner, film director of Melania. Okay. Okay. There's that. Let me see what time it is. Let me. There are a couple other things I want to kind of get through here, and then I want to make sure I close the loop on a couple of things. First of all, I want you to hear from Anuska DeGiorgio. Anuska has been a prominent voice. She is a survivor of the Epstein global trafficking ring. Okay, she's one of the people that was there front and center on that infamous day last summer when survivors, along with Thomas Massie and Ro Khanna and others, stood out front of the Capitol, and then the administration decided to send fighter jets over the top of their heads to intimidate them. Yes, that's a real thing. They really did that. So this is her statement, specifically in regards to Pam Bondi having to now appear before Congress. Whether she will or whether she does or she doesn't, I don't know yet. We will see. But here you are. This is Anuska DeGiorgio.
I'm Anuska DeGiorgio. I'm a survivor of Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. Over the past 5 years, since I came forward as a survivor of Epstein and Maxwell, the journey has been filled with turmoil and re-traumatization. But we've also made real progress. Good people have come together to push for accountability from systems that once felt untouchable. Even when there were moments that looked like victories, what many of us actually felt was a flood of emotion, adrenaline, cortisol, stress. But a few hours ago, when I heard that Pam Bondi is being subpoenaed, I felt something I haven't felt in a long time: relief. As a woman, I felt deeply betrayed by her leadership at the Department of Justice. That betrayal carried an echo of the betrayal so many of us experienced before. But this moment feels different. It feels significant. Because now people are being required to answer for their actions. And I'm very much looking forward to hearing her explain decisions that have affected so many survivors.
Correct. This is Frank Faguzzi. He's a former FBI. He worked for the FBI. He's a talking head now. He's a good writer. There's been some additional reporting connected to the e-files, so I'm going to play that for you. This has to do with, again, the financial trails and payoffs, and here you go.
Accused Donald Trump, a victim who accused Donald Trump of child rape, let's call it what it is, received a settlement from Jeffrey Epstein. Now, she also accused Jeffrey Epstein. So, if you accuse Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein and you get a settlement from Mr. Epstein, you don't know. We don't know whether that settlement is to silence you about what Epstein did to you and or what Donald Trump did to you. But that's the statement. The biggest takeaway you need to know from the accountant's testimony. Victim had received a settlement after accusing Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein of sexual assault. Okay. Let's move on to the next story.
So there was a settlement fund that was established to pay off survivors. And although there is no direct evidence of a person receiving funds from a complaint levied against Trump, a person who received money for complaints levied against Epstein also made complaints against Trump. What more evidence do we need? Now, I know the answer from our friends on the right. I understand. I'm using the term generally speaking. There is no line for you, right? There is no line. There is literally no line, which kinds of brings me back to this, this whole belief set that the right doesn't have. This is cult behavior. This is why we say it is cult behavior. There is also additional reporting from, this is Seth Moulton, who I really like. He is a congressman from Massachusetts, and I think that he breaks this down very well as it connects to everything we're seeing in the Middle East and also the Epstein class. Let me play it for you.
Right? There's an America for the wealthy and the well-connected who get all the tax breaks and the tax perks, free vacations. And there's an America for people were struggling to pay rent, turning down their thermostats in New England because the temperature's too cold because they can't afford their heating bills. But the point is, it's not just about economics, which I think we all know. It's about the rule of law. There's an America that feels bound by the law, but not protected by it. That's what I saw on the ground in Minneapolis. And there's an America, the Epstein class, that feels protected by the law and not bound by it. Like they can get away with what they want.
Do you regret that Democrats, when you had control of the House and Senate, when you had the White House and the DOJ, did not do more on the Epstein class, as you put it?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's right. And I think it does. I mean, I'm the biggest fan of Barack Obama. But part of this is going back to 2008, right?
Correct.
You can commit white-collar crimes on Wall Street
said,
and just get away with it. Yep, look forward, not back. We'll bail them out. You know, we'll just move on.
That has to change, you agree, with the next Democratic administration?
Absolutely, it has to change.
Prosecuting ICE, being honest on Epstein, dealing with all of these issues.
And fundamentally, what Democrats have to show is that we are going to stand up for that second America, right? That's always getting shafted both economically and by the rule of law. But if we're really good, if we really lead, then we not only stand up for that America, but we actually bring both Americas back together.
The Epstein controversy was already a huge, huge controversy. Right now, with these new allegations, not just allegations against Trump, but allegations of a cover-up of the allegations against Trump, could this be the biggest scandal in our history?
Yeah. I'm not a historian, but it's
hard to think of a scandal where it's the president, these kind of accusations are being made against the president.
The president of the United States and this whole ruling class.
Yes.
Right, this whole ruling class, but which, by the way, is not partisan. I mean,
you
there may be
Bill Clinton in that.
There are Democrats and Republicans, and everybody needs to be held accountable. This should not be a partisan issue. This should be an issue that actually we just never forget that there are young victims here who have never gotten accountability. Some of them are dead because of the mental health impacts of this. And we've got to right that wrong.
And what I'm about to do is to show the right what the fundamental differences between those of us on the left and them. I completely agree with that legitimate criticism of the Obama administration for not prosecuting more people who committed massive fucking white-collar crimes, whether it be Enron or the housing industry or whatever it might be. No one was prosecuted. And that statement he made was, we've decided to look forward and not back. That is legitimate criticism. He deserves that criticism. Okay? There's lots of things that I could criticize Barack Obama for. I think it was a bullshit political move and a stunt when he went to Flint, Michigan, when those people were struggling with access to clean water, and then did this PR thing where he drank a glass of water from the tap. I think that was bullshit too. Still think he's a great president. Still think he did a lot of things for the middle class. No doubt about it. But that's what you're supposed to do as an active, engaged constituent, an active, engaged voter who doesn't line up to suck off the fucking teat. He absolutely should have prosecuted more people connected to that. And as Seth Moulton just very eloquently points out, two different Americas. And the different Americas are us, the middle class, the working poor, and everybody else. And the fight that the right wants us to have is with each other. And many of us have taken the bait, right? People, I get death threats, not as many recently. Maybe it's down to 10 or 15 a week. And you know what? I still want those people to have health care. I still want to make sure that there's a social safety net in case something really bad happens. I want their kids to be able to have food at school or their grandchildren at school. Does that surprise you, TJ, that I get death threats? Does it surprise anybody? Doesn't surprise me. Why? Why? Again, that's the question. Why? Because I stand up for you. I stand up for you. I can criticize the best president of my life, in my opinion, the best president of my lifetime. I put Jimmy Carter up there because I think he's first of all really underappreciated as a president. I thought he was great. But I can criticize Barack Obama for not holding the wealthiest amongst us accountable. And that's legitimate criticism. And I think, to be honest, if you were in a room without cameras and you were to ask Barack Obama that question, I'm sure he'd probably say the same thing. But here we sit. The Epstein class, as Seth Moulton points out. I'm just going to play the sound again because it's so great.
There's really two Americas, right? There's an America for the wealthy and the well-connected who get all the tax breaks and the tax breaks, free vacations. And there's an America for people who are struggling to pay rent, turning down their thermostats in New England because the temperature's too cold, because they can't afford their heating bills. But the point is,
as I just got a propane delivery today, it's going to cost me $500.
It's not just about economics, which I think we all know. It's about the rule of law. There's an America that feels bound by the law, but not protected by it. That's what I saw on the ground in Minneapolis. And there's an America, the Epstein class, that feels protected by the law and not bound by it. Like they can get away with what they want.
Do you regret that Democrats, when you had control of the House and Senate, when you had the White House and the DOJ, did not do more on the Epstein class?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think it does. I mean, I'm the biggest fan of Barack Obama. A part of this is going back to 2008, right? You can commit white collar crimes on Wall Street and just get away with it. Yep, look forward, not back. We'll bail them out. You know, we'll just move on.
That has to change, you agree, with the next Democratic administration?
Absolutely, it has to
be
change.
Prosecuting ICE, being honest on Epstein, dealing with all of these issues.
And fundamentally, what Democrats have to show is that we are going to stand up for that second America, right? That's always getting shafted both economically and by the rule of law. But if we're really good, if we really lead, then we not only stand up for that America, but we actually bring both Americas back together.
The Epstein controversy was already a huge, huge controversy. Right now, with these new allegations, not just allegations against Trump, but allegations of a cover-up of the allegations against Trump, could this be the biggest scandal in our history?
Yeah. I'm not a historian, but it's
hard to think of a scandal where the president, these kind of accusations are being made against the president.
The president of the United States and this whole ruling class.
Yes.
Right, this whole ruling class, but which, by the way, is not partisan. I mean,
you include Bill Clinton in that.
There are Democrats and Republicans, and everybody needs to be held accountable. This should not be a partisan issue. This should be an issue that actually we just never forget that there are young victims here who have never gotten accountability. Some of them are dead because of the mental health impacts of this. And we've got to right that wrong.
It's Mehdi Hassan from Zeteo, who's the commentator, and the person who is speaking about the scandal is Seth Moulton. He's a Democratic representative from Massachusetts. He's running to unseat Ed Markey. And he's the kind of person that we want. He is the kind of person, that's the future, in my opinion. He is the future of the Democratic Party because he's willing to go on the record saying, we fucked up. We should have done more. We should have prosecuted those white-collar criminals. Instead, what did we do? We bailed them out. Now, I understand political science, and from an economic perspective, I understand why we did it. But we didn't bail out the people who suffered. We didn't bail out the people who lost everything. We bailed out the banks, right? Too big to fail. We bailed them out. We gave them money, and what did those fucking predators do? What did they do? They just gave themselves golden parachutes, bonuses, more stock options. This is the issue, okay? We talk about dumb fuckery. It's kind of the point, right? It's kind of the point. We live in a country now with the access to wealth, to access to resources, access to innovation, some of the best colleges on the fucking planet. We have roughly 900 billionaires in our country. They, over the last year and a half, have acquired nearly $1.8 trillion in additional wealth. Those 900 people in our country have amassed a total wealth of just over $8 trillion. I don't think people understand how much money that is. That those 900 people have a combined wealth that is a quarter of our entire deficit. And you're right, and it's never enough, Cynthia. And now we're spending $1 billion or more a day on another fucking war. And there are people in our country that are food insecure, tens of millions. There are children in this country who don't necessarily know where their next meal is coming from. There are parents in our country that are making sacrifices themselves to not eat so that their children can eat. And the billionaire class, the Epstein class, is just going to continue to get away with it. But there's us. We are the defense. We are the resistance. If it's not us, then who? And if it's not now, when? Because I'm a big fan of human rights, available in the merch store. This is why this is why it makes me so angry when we have entitled leftists that are out there who just won't show up. You're still angry about Jasmine losing. Fucking get over your bullshit. Get over your fucking entitled bullshit, please. You have one thing to do. One thing to do. You need to proudly take the advice of your queen in Texas. And when the general election rolls around, you walk into your polling location or you mail in your vote and you proudly put the fucking stamp on it and say, I'm voting for James Tallarico. Because if you don't, you're worse. You're worse than the Trump supporters. You're worse because your ideology aligns with people who want to defend the rights of others, and yet you're too fucking selfish and too fucking entitled to stand up and do something about it. It has to happen. We need you. You've got power. Use it. Use it. Do you want corporate greed to continue to run amok? I don't. I want more progressives in government. I want to be able to move our society forward. I want fucking healthcare. Whether it's Medicare for all model, that's the model that I want. Right? I would prefer if we named it something else. Patriot Healthcare. I don't give a fuck. Call it whatever the fuck you want. I don't care. I want it. I want federal minimum wages raised. I want a tax code that benefits the middle class. I want to raise taxes on billionaires, people earning more than $400,000 a year. I want to stop making subsidies available for every fucking corporation out there. I want to go after the corrupt banking system. I want to get rid of Citizens United. I want money out of fucking politics. I want to expand the court. I want DC to become a state. Is that so fucking radical? As we're watching more and more American service members losing their life at another fucking foreign war that's put us in this position to begin with? I agree, Kipper. It's the same fucking cycle over and over and over again. And quietly, I thought we had some alignment with the MAGA conservative right about no new wars. I didn't really want to say it publicly, but thinking, yeah, you know what? I agree on that, obviously. And they do too. Maybe that's the common ground. Because apparently predatory behavior and pedophilia was not a deal breaker for them because they'll continue to double down. But I thought, hey, no new wars. Yeah, we all agree on that, don't we? Apparently not. Because you're going to find some way to pivot your way through this as well. Because you are incapable of loudly criticizing your president. Some of you are. We're starting to see some voices out there. You've lost Tucker, you've lost Sean Ryan, you've lost Joe Rogan. Those are big voices. So why the fuck are there people still holding out? What do you expect is going to happen? Look, I know you go to your mailbox every day looking for your golden ticket, looking for your invite to the ballroom, looking for your tea time at Bedminster or Mar-a-Lago. It ain't going to fucking happen. It's not going to happen. You're not going to get picked. So instead, you debase yourself every single day. All I am asking is to say, you know what? Okay, I was wrong. People who are so weak of character that just can't admit when they're wrong. Which again, this speaks to, exactly, they're not one of the 900 either, Crystal, you're right. This speaks to the red pilling. This speaks to the manosphere. You can never admit defeat. Can't admit weakness. Just going to double down on your hatred. Expecting everybody else to desire to be you. No. I have never given a fuck about anything. I live very minimally. There are things that I care about, right? From a I call them frivolous expenses. I have a lot of guitars. I like guitars. It gives me pleasure. I have a lot of things that I like to do with my motorcycle. I don't, I'd love to have a new bike. It runs. It's temperamental. If you have a Harley, you know. If you know, you know. But other than that, I live simply. And I think most people do for the most part. I don't give a shit about stuff. I don't fucking care. I just want people to. I have a Taylor, TJ. I have a Taylor. I have a Martin. I've got a Yamaha. There's an Epiphone over there. There's a little Gresh. I've got a Gresh electric. I've got a couple of mandolins. There's like 11 guitars in my house currently. Anyway, I'm sick and tired of the fight. I'm tired of it. What the fuck are we fighting for? I know. We're fighting for each other. We're fighting for each other. That's what we do. That's what we have to do. That's what Do Something is about. Okay? That's what it's about. That's why it is so fucking important that we re-engage. That's why it's so important that we remind each other what is at stake. Do you understand? I want you to. You may not, but I want you to. So, mods, should I play the produced speech? Maybe it's a good time to do that. I think I'm going to do that. Can somebody send it to me? Either pull it from the IG page, because I'll end up crashing the live. I don't want to touch anything. If somebody can send it to me, I'll play it. Look, this is I don't know how I can explain this other than to say this. Every election's important. Every single one. Every single election is important. They're very important because it's our civic duty, our responsibility to participate in democracy. They're all important. I am not going to, it would be insincere of me to come up here every single day and talk about how important your vote is if I didn't think we were going to have elections, the midterms. I do believe we're going to have the midterms. I absolutely do. I'm not as concerned about that. I am more concerned about people not showing up. Thank you, Sam. That's what I'm concerned about. So we produce this, and hopefully you guys will like it. You've heard the speech before, but it's got some music under it, and I'll play it for you. Hang on one second. It's going to be weird listening to myself talk, but here you go. A lot of people in this country are tired. Not just busy tired. I mean soul tired. Tired of working hard and still feeling like they're falling behind. Tired of watching the news and feeling powerless. Tired of hearing promises every election season and then watching nothing change. And if you ever felt like your vote doesn't matter, like your voice doesn't count, I want you to know something. You're not alone, and you're not wrong for feeling that way. Because when you feel ignored long enough, you stop believing anyone is listening. And when you stop believing anyone is listening, you stop showing up. But here's what I've learned in my life. The moment that good people stop showing up is the moment the wrong people take over the room. That's why I'm launching something called the Do Something Tour. Not because I think I have the answers, not because I'm here to tell anyone what to think, but because I believe we're losing something precious in this country, and that's our faith in each other. I'm going to travel the country to sit down with people who feel forgotten, people who feel dismissed, people who feel like the system is built for someone else. And I'm going to listen. I want to hear what broke your trust. I want to hear what you've lived through. I want to hear what you wish the people in power actually understood about your life. Because the truth is, democracy is not a speech. It's not a slogan. It's not something that happens once every 4 years. Democracy is people. It's parents trying to keep their kids safe. It's workers trying to keep food on the table. It's communities trying to stay whole. It's people who don't want to be a headline. They just want to be okay. And I know this. If we want change, we can't just hope for it. We have to participate in it. I'm not asking you to be perfect. I'm not asking you to know every issue. I'm not asking you to trust politicians. I'm asking you to trust your own worth. To remember that your voice matters, even if it's been ignored. To remember that your vote matters, even if it hasn't felt like it has. And to remember that your presence matters, because this country belongs to you, too. So this is my invitation. Come back in, not because the system deserves you, but because your community does. Your kids do. Your future does. This is the Do Something Tour. And if you've ever felt powerless, I want you to hear me clearly. You still have power. So, let's do something together. So, this is not about me. I am not a fan of, my mods know this. This is not self-promotion. This is because this is important to me. And I feel like we have this perception that we can't fix things. And that may be partly true, but only because we haven't tried hard enough. So I want to thank Gravedigger. I want to thank Sam. I want to thank Chris Lewis, who helped me do some of the editing. And I want to thank Gregory for helping me put that together. There's more to come, right? There's more to come. It's weird because growing up in, just a quick story real quick. So when I first started in radio, we used to do this thing called air checking. Anybody who's ever worked in radio, you know what it's like. So I'm used to hearing my voice, so it's not that big a deal. A lot of people hate the sound of their voice. I'm used to it. So when I was working in radio, you'd bring a cassette tape in, you'd pop it literally into a cassette player. And then this is in 1986. Every time you turn the microphone on, the cassette player would start recording. So then it would capture your voice. And they call it your break. And then you would sit down with the program director or your boss, whoever that was, and you would review it. I remember sitting in his office the first time going through an air check. And I'm like, fuck, I sound like that? So anyway, I digress. My point here is I want people to get involved. People need inspiration. People need hope. People need something to fight for. That's why this entire thing is going to be as agnostic as I possibly can be. I'm not out there to internally and as a byproduct of my work, would I like people to vote for progressives? Absolutely. But I want people to vote. I want people to say, listen, I can't just sit in the sidelines anymore. I want people to be involved. I'll take my chances based on I know the majority of people believe a lot of the things that I believe. Education reform, healthcare, firearm safety, doing something about taxation, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm willing to take my chance. So again, if you want to support us, you can do so at Factsstillmatter, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo. There's also a GoFundMe link. We're still working on some details there. Please, for now, use this. I have a couple of questions about the GoFundMe. We'll get there. Follow us on IG, follow us on YouTube, follow us on Twitch, follow us here. Thank you. Appreciate you guys. All right. With that said, I wanted to kind of go back a little bit more on, somebody's requested. Let me bring somebody up here. Okay. Good morning, friend. How are you today?
Good morning. I'll be real quick.
Okay.
Regarding the video and the sound you just played, just on behalf of this community, I just want to thank you for taking the time to do that. It's powerful. And thank you and your team for doing that. I know you had help, and it's powerful and inspiring and thoughtful, and you're amazing. And thank you.
I appreciate you saying that. We're all in it together, friend. And thank you for your constant support of what we do here. I appreciate you very much. Be safe out there, okay? Have a good day.
All right.
All right, bye. It's us, guys. Listen, I'm privileged to do this every single day. I'm fully aware of that. I accept it. It's humbling, but I'm fully aware of my privilege, and I want to use it again. And I want to use it every single day. And I want to be wherever I can be, who will ever take me. A lot of people have reached out and said they want to try to help, and we're getting there. I'm glad we had to kind of move things out a little bit, falling behind on our fundraising, a couple other things that we're working on internally, a bunch of stuff. So everybody hang in there. Okay, that's what I'm asking. Hang in there. Wake up every single day and find a little bit of joy, find a little bit of humor, whatever that might be, whatever you can do. I would just like to ask that you just, again, stay committed to the cause here, because this is a fight. Because our leaders don't care enough. They don't care enough. So we have to, right? You're not going to get the perfect policy. You're not going to get the perfect economic plan. You're not going to get the perfect solution to education. But we've got to start somewhere. If we prioritize each other right? If we prioritize our voices being heard and why it matters and who it's supposed to matter for, exactly, Lisa. It's a marathon. It's not a sprint. The conservative right, the evangelical right, they've been in this for 50 years. This has been their long game. Okay, this is what they've been doing for decades. They finally got the person that they wanted in the White House so they could go after rights. You're not supposed to live in a time where rights are being taken away from you. And that's what we're experiencing right now. So if you care about these kinds of things, then I need you to get involved. You can't just sit by. So yes, do I show a lot of targeted anger towards people on the left? I do. And I'm trying to temper that because I want inclusivity. But it's troubling when people on the left who ideologically tend to agree with a lot of the things that I agree with just check out, right? That's the idea behind the big tent, the good and the bad, right? The good and the bad of the big tent. The good is you hear lots of voices. You get lots of opinions. You get a lot of representation. The bad is you get a lot of voices, you get a lot of opinions, you get a lot of representation, which means if you're looking for perfection in your candidate, you're never going to find it, ever. So harm reduction is got to be your mantra. You've got to approach this next election season. To Manny's point earlier, we've been saying this all spring long, during your primaries, fight fucking hard for your candidate. Whomever they may be, fight hard for them. And if they don't get the nomination, then be like, you know what? I fought really hard for them, but I also know what's at stake. Therefore, I'm going to vote for the Democrat with harm reduction in mind because I need things to be different. So if you're on the left and you're in here today and you're hearing that message and you're triggered by it, then you might be the problem. But you can come back in too, right? You can step in, you can say, all right, I get it. And then make a plan for the next election season and get more people involved and get more progressives elected. If TJ can swing and TJ can become a Democrat, then there's hope for all of us. Okay. So I want to go back because this relates. This is what I'm about to get into again, and just to kind of close the loop on our conversation yesterday, it relates. So let me change the background. Let me just change the background real quick because I think it does relate to our topic from yesterday about the breaking of the red pill. Because this relates specifically because the messaging going to young men in particular is going to affect elections for the next decade or more. So we have to make sure that we're getting out ahead of it. And again, the divide between what men are being told women want and what women actually want is massive. So a little bit of statistics on that. So I talked about this briefly yesterday. A gentleman by the name of David Buss, he's probably the preeminent expert on these kinds of large models of surveying about data. He broke this down about what women are looking for in men. Okay, I talked about it a little bit yesterday. I don't know if I got through it. 85 to 90% said they want kindness and warmth. 80 to 85% say they want men who are honest and trustworthy. 75% said they want men who are intelligent. 65% said they want men who are emotionally stable. 5% said they want men who have a sense of humor, or 65% said they want men with a sense of humor. Physical attraction was 8 out of 9. So the red pill is telling men exactly the opposite of what women want. And we wonder, now everything, again, there are variations. I look at this a little bit differently because the way that my brain processes these things, I think anybody should want from either romantic partners or friends or people in your community, you should want somebody to be kind, honest, intelligent, emotionally stable, sense of humor. We should all want all those things. The issue with this study, though, or the point of the study was the manosphere and the red pill is influencing bad behavior because the people who are the influencers are telling those that they're attempting to influence exactly the opposite of what women actually want. And again, this goes back to the Facts After Dark we did on Friday night about whether women are rejecting men or their behavior. Women are rejecting men because of their behavior. I think that's easy to say, and it's easy to see. So I advocate for therapy. I advocate for pushing. Now the question then becomes, can men fix men? Yes, the answer is obvious. Yes, men can fix men. The question is, will men fix men? Which goes back to the story that I shared with you to start the show today of the men in the press pool on Air Force One not coming to the defense of another female reporter who gets dismissed and diminished by the president. This is what it's going to take, fellas. You cannot sit by. You can't just fucking watch. And this is not just men on the right. This is men. This is all of us. We're working through this fucking shit, especially if we're talking about this now, because there are men, the alpha, the bravado, the masculine males who are fucking excited that we're dropping bombs on the Middle East. There are people who support this war on the left. There are. And it's not because they understand foreign policy. They just like the way it makes them feel in their pants. They get a little warm fuzzy. They get a little tingle. Question then becomes, what are you going to do about it, fellas? Are you going to be part of the people that are pushing back against the Epstein class? Are you going to defend? Are you going to be an accomplice? Are you going to stand shoulder to shoulder and then do the fucking work so then you can then be labeled an ally for the communities that you say you care about? It can't just be lip service. It has to be fucking action. And I worry that you're not going to do enough. Well, I am. So anyway. Hi, Amy Lee. How are you, friend?
Hey, I'm doing okay, Steve. I just quickly want to thank everybody for doing all the things that they did for Mavis. She's doing so much better. But I had something to add to this conversation about the red pill. And I tried to come up yesterday, but things were chaotic and you had lots of guests.
They were. Yes, I'm sorry about that.
No. But I think one of the things that I didn't hear touched on is that it starts so early. It starts when little boys or little girls are told, oh, he hit you because he likes you. He pulled your hair because he likes you. And that can be misconstrued in women's minds, I think. And that's when it has to be observed, corrected, and we need to be teaching the little boys from tiny ages that no, you don't hit a girl because you like her. You don't pull her hair because you like her. And little girls, that you don't tolerate that. And that's just my thought on it. I just didn't hear, I haven't heard that brought up. And I was on Facts After Dark, but I didn't hear that brought up.
It's a good point. It's a really good point. Or telling little boys that he's going to grow up to be a heartbreaker.
Yeah.
Right? Those kinds of things, those little things that we thought were innocent at the time, but you're right. He's teasing you. He pulled your hair because he likes you. No, he pulled your hair because he's a dick.
Right. And he hasn't been taught better.
Correct.
And that's up to all of us. It's not just up to a mom or a dad. It's up to the community at large. It's up to all of us.
It's true. It's a good point. Thank you for sharing that. And it's good. Thank you for providing the update on Mavis. We appreciate you. We love you, friend.
Love you too.
See you later. She's right. And yes, shame that I didn't. Shame on me for not bringing that up. But you're right, Heather. It does. It teaches to allow abuse. And again, these things are all related to me. Like what we're seeing, this bad behavior from people like Pete Hegseth and people like the president and people like others in his cabinet, is that they've never, ever, first of all, they don't have empathy, and they just don't see women and children other than transactional, right? Which then speaks to the manosphere and how that entire culture is about its transactions. It's how many notches, how many holes in the belt, how many notches on the bedpost, right? The one-sided monogamy that they talked about, that is today's administration. Multiple affairs, multiple charges of abuse against women and girls, et cetera, et cetera. This is the Epstein class. That they're in our government. And by the way, those people, the feeder system to the next generation of the Epstein class is the manosphere, in my opinion. Some of the data that we didn't get to yesterday I want to talk about, it's the dating market. Several analysis of app data, including internal studies from Tinder and outside researchers, show a pattern. The top 10 to 20% of men receive 60 to 80% of the likes from women, and the bottom half of men receive very few matches of all. Researchers sometimes call this the winner-take-most system. Before the apps, dating was more localized through school, through work, through friends, through community circles, so opportunities were even more more widely spread. Women swipe right far less often. On average, men swipe right on 60% of their profiles, whereas women swipe right. Anyone want to take a guess? What do you think the number is? So men swipe right 60% of the time. By the way, I've never been on a dating app in my life. Don't have a profile, never thought about having a profile, I never did. So again, men swipe right 60% of the profiles. How many times do we think women swipe right? 20, 35, 10%. 10% of the time. So the selection pressure is very different, obviously. Women see many more incoming matches, which leads them to filter heavily. Algorithms that amplify popular profiles. The apps tend to promote profiles that already get engagement. So if someone gets lots of likes, the algorithm will show them even more often, which brings even more matches. It's a positive feedback loop. Researchers compare it to how social media amplifies viral posts. The algorithm doing the algorithm things. Before apps, people usually dated within a limited social circle. Now someone can compare hundreds or thousands of profiles. Psychologists call this choice overload. When people have endless options, they often become more selective, delay commitment, and then keep searching for better matches. Without exposing yourselves, I'm just curious. Put a 1 in the chat if you currently have a dating profile. I'm just curious. There's 1,300 people in here. I'm just curious. Just put a 1 in the chat if you currently have a dating profile on a dating site. It's interesting. It's interesting. Pretty split, to be honest. Pretty split. I think the cautionary tale here is that, again, what we have discussed from the research that's being done, attractiveness is not as important. It's not that it's not important, but it's not as important to women as it is to men, which explains, I think, the gap in why men swipe right 60% of the time and women swipe right 10% of the time. Because things, again, that the manosphere are telling men is that you got to be cut, you got to be buff, you got to have the six-pack, you got to have the Lambo. By the way, are men still being photographed with their fish pictures? That's fucking wild to me. Like, is that still a thing? Are men still posting their profile hanging the fish? Yes, they are. Are you fucking kidding me? Holy shit. Oh my God. We are so fucking fucked. We are so bad. Anyway, to me, this is all related. This is all related. That is the next generation of leaders, right? If you're not taught, not mentored, not guided, I love to fish too. I love to fish. That's why I need a fucking boat. God damn it. Anyway, if you're not taught how to respect people, especially women, right? Or to not look at women and children as status marks and or property, then how are we ever going to change the system, right? So that's why men have got to be out ahead of this so that we don't have people like Pete Hegseth be somebody who's in power, or pick any of them. Pick any of them. Like, this alpha bullshit is part of the reason why we are at war right now. Seriously. That's part of the reason why. We sit in this cycle of this hyper masculinity, and it's got fuel from somewhere. It's not like the red pill phenomenon is new. It's certainly not new. It's been here for a while. It's definitely not new. It's just become amplified because of social media. So back to the data. Offline social spaces have declined. This is the part many people miss in this research. Places where relationships used to come from have shrunk. Does anybody want to take a guess where what was the number one social space where relationships started? Church, civic organizations, local clubs or bars, and or community groups. I'm not a churchgoer, so I think that's interesting, right? I don't have a profile on Christian Mingle. Not that I would. Yes, workplace, but a lot of workplaces have issues regarding fraternization. You have to be careful how that works. So you might have a relationship that starts there, but you can't be public about it. Dating apps have filled that gap. Target-rich environment, as they describe it. But the apps operate more like markets, not social communities. Why this matters in the manosphere is because when large numbers of men experience very few matches, frequent rejection, or ghosting, it can create a feeling that the system is rigged. And that's where the blame on women comes from. If men are ghosted, again, men are swiping right 60% of the time. Women are swiping right 10% of the time. Men are like, why the fuck is she not responding? Because women are like, listen, I really don't care about your fish picture. I'd like to know if you're smart. I'd like to know that if you're empathetic. I'd like to know if you're kind. I'd like to know if you're understanding. And it's difficult with these social spaces to be able to figure that out. You got to take a risk. So gentlemen, what you have to understand is the risk that women are taking. That's what you have to understand. And like I said, it's all men until it's no men. If you're bothered by that, then you might be part of the problem. Because the risk is coming from women. They're the ones that have to take it. Okay? I just saw this. Canberra said, women are reading your profiles, fellas. Guys, are you reading their profiles? I highly doubt it. I feel like I might need to do some research. I feel like I don't want to do that because it wouldn't be fair. Never mind. Scratch that. One statistic that really stunned researchers about men under 30. About 1/3 report no sexual activity at all in the last year. 1/3. 10 years ago, that was 8%. It's one of the fastest social changes researchers have documented in modern relationships. So again, 1/3 of men under 30 report no sexual activity in the past year. Now that could be incel, that could be a variety of things. That could just be rejected, right? Invest in lube. That's all I can tell you. Invest in lube. Popcorn, I really don't want to bring you up, bro, because you just say ridiculous things. You just say ridiculous things. You got a lot of shit that you got to unpack. You really, really do. You said yesterday that I like to touch kids. You said that in the chat. And one of my mods saw that, right? So ultimately, you don't belong here because you don't care. No, Popcorn, you never have facts, bro. You live in a world of hatred. You can't have a conversation about anything important because all you do is live. You know that you would have the TDS, Popcorn, which is Trump dementia syndrome and Trump denial syndrome. That's you, my guy. That's you. Sad in a way, but G-Web, how are you today?
I am well. I hope you're doing well too.
Thank you for asking. I am.
I just wanted to say, what did they think was going to happen when Roe was overturned?
Good point.
Did they really think that not only would women be putting their safety at risk by dating men who could potentially unalive them, now, the recourse of having intercourse with those men could also unalive them?
It's a really good point.
That's all I had.
It's cause and effect. It's cause and effect. I appreciate you, friend, and thank you for your continued support of what we do here. I appreciate you very much. Have a good day.
We all love you.
Thank you. I appreciate you saying that. Back at you. But she's right. Right? I mean, these circles, the influence. Now, Popcorn, you're too old and too stupid to even understand any of this shit. But the reality is that there are boys and our boys in particular, our boys are being influenced by the wrong people. In the speech that I wrote, when one thing I have learned that when good people don't show up, bad people do. And that's what the conservative Christian right is hoping for. In fact, that's what they're counting on. Thank you, Gregory. That's what they're counting on. They're counting on good people not showing up so that they can manipulate elections, so they can lie about wars, so they can lie about the economy, because there's no resistance, right? There's no resistance. And they talk about this in terms of the male loneliness epidemic. Men are lonely because men are fucking assholes. It's self-inflicted. It's the ultimate shot to the foot. The reason men are fucking lonely is because men are fucking idiots. And we're fucking predators. Period. Full stop. Now, I'm also a romantic. Like, I love relationships. Love relationships. Love to be able to share things. Love to know that you have a person. I love that. I miss that. I really love that. Doesn't change the facts, though. Doesn't change the facts that our young men are being told to be horrible to women, to be mean to women, to treat them like property, to use them for clicks, to have them on their arm. The expectation is for them to clean, though, to make me a sandwich. And that's becoming the next generation of leaders in our country. Yeah, it's control. It's a combination of things. Literally becoming the next generation of leaders in our country. That age group, the 18 to 25 in particular, but they extend that to 18 to 30. There's no social awareness. They're not dating. Men want to tell you that they're making the choice not to date. No. Nope. It's because, from my perspective, and from the research that I've done, and from what women have told me, it's because women are sick of our fucking shit. They don't need us, fellas. We should be fortunate if they want us in their lives. Seriously. I think that's what men have to finally understand. They don't need us, guys. They don't. We are the ones that should feel privileged if they want us in their lives. And I do believe that this has a societal impact for generations to come. We've seen birth rates decline. Not surprised. The marriage I did the stat on data. Hang on a second here. On marriage data. I think I've got this as well. Young men are far more likely to be single than young women. 63% of men under the age of 30 are single, where 34% of women are. Sex among young men has dropped dramatically. We talked about this in the early 2000s. It was about 8 to 10% of young men reported having sex in the last year. Now it's closer to 30%. For young women, for young women, the increase exists, but it's still much smaller. This is one of the clearest changes in modern dating. Dating apps concentrate attention on a small group of men. We talked about that, the top 10 to 20%. Women now outpace men in education among Americans aged 25 to 34. 47% of women in that age group have a bachelor's degree, where it's around 35% of men. Again, the prioritization of things that women want. Fellas, here's some advice. Read a book. Start there. Not a manual, not a pamphlet, an actual book. Learn how to understand shit. Become a critical thinker. Analyze. Question. Listen. Ask questions. Be fucking curious. And stop being a fucking dick. Stop. Stop being a dick. Stop, please. Ibrahim, I don't know what your request is, sir. I think we've done our time today. Yes, feed your mind. Learn something. It's really not that hard. I don't read as much as I used to. I used to read a lot, but I've gotten back into it again. I really want to go to bed. That's what I do. I'm reading about Ken Burns and his documentary about jazz. Just read. You know, learn a fucking skill. Right? It's really not that hard. You're being told, gentlemen, you're being told a lie. You're being told that your status and your watch and your bling and your fucking tummy tuck and your six-pack abs and all that kind of shit are the be-all and end-all for women. That may be the case because, you know, we're all individuals. People are not monoliths, but by and large, no. It's not what the queens want, my guys. It's not what they want. So again, we as men have got to be out ahead of this. And as it was discussed yesterday, if boy moms too, white boy moms in particular, this is a message for you as well. You've really got to be paying attention to this. And we see this a lot with this whole trad wife model. I'm not here to judge that. And it's really difficult for me to not. I just don't think it's healthy, but it's your choice, right? It's your choice. But that model, because your children ultimately model you, and you kind of want that, especially if you're a good parent. That trad wife model, if you've got a son and a daughter, what are you teaching them? Like, what are you teaching them? You're teaching your sons that their wife is property. You're teaching your daughters that they are property. Men are subs, okay? We are subs. That's why we make good soldiers. That's why we make good worker bees, because we want to be told what to do. And what men won't tell you, they really love being led by women, but they'll never admit it publicly. Never. Never. They'll never, ever admit it publicly. You watch them crash out. Just watch them in some of the spaces and some of the live creators that we've grown to love here. When they're told what to do, they crumble. But deep down inside, they fucking love it. They love it. It's true. So we got this next generation of leaders that are being developed, influenced by people primarily who did not have good examples in their life. A lot of the top influencers, we've done this research, whether it be Sneeko, whether it be HS Tiki-Taki or others, they all came from broken homes. Their dads weren't around very much. And this is not, believe me, I am not disparaging single moms at all. That's not the argument. My point is there was nothing standing in their way. There was no examples of how to be a good dad or how to be a good man, how to be a good person. So single moms have to carry the burden. Hearts in the chat for single mothers. Hearts in the chat for single dads too. It's not an easy job. I can tell you that. I respect it. It's not going to change though unless we do something about it. Fellas, it's not on women to fix us. It's never been. It's not on them to fix us. Can we be fixed? I do believe that. Yes, I do believe that men can be fixed. Will we be fixed? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. It's going to take a commitment. It's going to take education. It's going to take a desire to change. It's going to take people to be stepping back a little bit from the edge and realizing that they've been lied to. The rise of the matriarchy? Absolutely. The goal would be, the pendulum's going to have to swing. And I think people fear the matriarchy because they don't understand what it is. The perfect model of the matriarchy is that we would prioritize the things that we should prioritize. Children. Period. It's not complicated. You put them at the center of every decision that you make. Every single decision is around them. education, food security, healthcare, opportunity for tax advantages for the middle class as we get older. That's it. That's it. So that pendulum might have to swing, but ultimately could settle back in the middle to something more egalitarian, more equitable. But think about the people that are passing laws. What are they doing? They're passing laws to protect their status, their patriarchal status, because they've been indoctrinated into as well. And even though I'd like to think I'm relatively evolved, but I've still got blind spots. We all do. And we're trying to learn from it, right? We're just trying to fucking learn. We're trying to be better. We're trying to say, shit, I didn't even realize that. And I feel like I have a big advantage being raised by my mother was a full-on activist. I wish she was alive today for obvious reasons, but she would just she'd be causing some fucking good trouble everywhere. No doubt about it. And I'm very fortunate that I had that influence in my life. Not that my father didn't influence me in a different way. I've had to battle a lot of those demons. And I've shared my story here. My dad was an abuser. He beat up my mom. There were many times that I had to literally stand between him and her when I was like 9, And I'm sure that there's a lot of people here who've probably experienced that as well. Probably many women here who've been on the receiving end of that shit. And, we can't break that cycle unless we actually break that cycle, right? And as someone who's experienced that, you are labeled with that. If you're a child of an alcoholic, you're going to grow to be an alcoholic. If you're a child of a domestic abuser, you'll grow to be a domestic abuser. That does happen. I'm fortunate. It did not happen to me. I can proudly say that. So, how do we fix it? How do we fix it? And I think the question for parents, especially parents of boys, especially dads, you've got to know what your kids are doing. You've got to know who they're hanging around with. You've got to know what social spaces that they're in. Because there is nothing from the manosphere, in my opinion, that's a benefit to men. Nothing. Because you can achieve success in life without that script. There is nothing in the red pill community that's a benefit to men, certainly not women. We've talked about how harmful the patriarchy is and toxic masculinity is to women, but it's equally, if not more harmful to men because they're not ever going to change their behavior. They have been conditioned to think this is the right way to go, which leads us into our politics of today, in my opinion. There's no guardrails on this constant abuse of power. And again, Seth Moulton said it correct. White men in particular, we just get away with everything. Because who's going to stand up to us? Because the people that are going to be holding us accountable, they're part of it. The people that are making money who benefit from the laws are part of it too. I don't know if you believe in the whole modeling, but we used to have I'll tell this funny story quickly. I might have told this before. I've tried not to. I'm a half Italian. I've got a lot of emotions. I wear my emotions on my sleeve. I've got a lot of passion towards things, which is good and bad. We have a general rule in our house that we don't yell. That's the general rule. We try to just avoid yelling at all costs. Okay. When my kids were little, my daughter was really little. I think this might even been before BC. We always say before cancer in our house. I think she was probably 4, and my kids were upstairs and they were playing and they started to get a little loud, and they weren't really yelling, but they were sort of fighting, right? So I'm at the bottom of the stairs and I'm like, hey, there's no yelling in this house. And they all came to the top of the stairs and they all looked down at me. They're like, you're yelling, Dad. And I'm like, oh yeah. So our kids will check us if we let them. It's not that hard. Just pay attention, right? Just try to pay attention. End of the day, just be better. Just don't be a fucking asshole. Maybe just don't rape women. Don't be a creep. Don't be a predator. If you have nothing to say, then don't say anything. Because they don't need you, fellas. They just don't. Women do not need us. And I'll say it again. We should want them to want us. But they don't need us. They don't. They do not need us. fix your behavior, and you might get picked. I don't know. Otherwise, buy stock in batteries. That's all I can tell you. All right, a couple other things here. I want to talk about this last little piece, and then I do have to wrap it around 11:30 because I have a couple of things I have to do. All right, so this section here on this video. Oh, by the way, the video is or the documentary I'm talking about is Inside the Manosphere. Louis Theroux, he's a documentarian. He does a good job, right? I like his approach to this because he asks difficult questions, but this is another element that I took from this. Influencers defending male dominance. One of the most uncomfortable sequences involved Theroux when he was interviewing influencers to openly argue that men should control relationships financially, that women are naturally submissive. I would completely on the contrary. I think men are naturally submissive, and that feminism has ruined modern dating. Theroux repeatedly asks them to explain these views logically. The tension comes from how calmly he pushes them while they double down. Young followers explaining why they joined, because they said that we're being ignored on dating apps. All right, well, that is arguably true because men are swiping right 60%, women are swiping right 10%. Feeling socially invisible, and then having no close friends or relationships. Here's a quote. The only place anyone was talking about what it's like to be a guy now is in the red pill community. What does that tell you? What does that tell you? The only place that men can learn how to be men is in the red pill community? This is Gen Z, right? This is who this group is targeting. This is Turning Point. This is PragerU. This is Christian nationalism. These are these alt-right communities. These are these subreddit environments. It should scare you. It scares me not from a fear for my life perspective. Women should be afraid for their lives. But it scares me that unless we get out ahead of this, not only is it going to be Gen Z becoming our elected officials, they'll eventually become parents. They'll eventually become dads. And then where do we stop the cycle? Remember, and I'll wrap after this. Hold on a second. Let me find this again. I'll say this one more time. I'm going to run down the list. Gentlemen, the study done by David Buss, these are the top traits that women are looking for in men. Kindness and warmth, 90%, which includes empathy, emotional support, treating others well, and generosity. It ranks #1 from every country that they've studied. Kindness predicts relationship satisfaction and lower divorce risk. #2, honesty and trustworthiness, around 85%. Loyalty, reliability, keeping promises, and transparency. Trust consistently shows up as one of the strongest predictors of long-term relationship stability. If you're kind and I can trust you, then we can pretty much take on everything. #3, intelligence. Around 75% of women rate intelligence as very important. Curiosity, ability to solve problems, and then thoughtful conversation. Studies show intelligence often outranks physical attractiveness when women choose long-term partners. Don't care the size of your bicep. I care about the size of your brain. #4, emotional stability. 65 to 75% of women rank emotional stability as a top trait. Calm under stress, low aggression, emotional maturity. And #5, a sense of humor. Researchers think humor signals intelligence, social skills, emotional awareness. It's not just being funny, it's making people feel comfortable and included is what matters the most. So there you go. So I think we'll wrap there today. So we've covered a lot. We've covered, obviously, we started the show talking about how the lies in this administration connects us to another endless war, fueling the next generation of toxic masculinity. You know, getting people fired up in their pants. War, boom, boom, bomb, bomb. Taking advantage. Attempting to take advantage of traditional hypermasculine traits. aggression, loudness, assertiveness, break shit, all those kinds of things. Yeah, Tracy, must also love animals. I would agree with that. It's a good trait for anybody. So then that evolved into the lies and the deceit connected to the messaging shared by this administration, again, targeting men because they still know it's their single biggest voting bloc. And then that evolved into more coverage of the Epstein syndicate, the Epstein class, right? And then we land here on the feeder for those systems, which is the targeted attacks on young men between 18 and 25. It starts even younger than that, though. It really starts at 10. I think I mentioned this yesterday. One of the most staggering things that I saw from that video, that documentary, was when some of the influencers were out in public on the streets. They were getting swarmed by their followers, and their followers were high school-aged boys. I love this guy. I idolize him. I want to be just like him. That's a pretty big red flag. Everybody, thank you for being here today. I appreciate you all very, very much. Who are we rating, guys? Anybody? Who's out there live right now? Is Ash live? Maybe go raid her. Or is Smitty live? Emma? Is Emma live? Don't know. Santana's live. You guys can take your pick. There's lots of great creators out there that are doing the work. I love you all. Mods, you guys are amazing. We'll see you tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time, friends. We might consider What the Fuck Wednesday. We're working on that. But please consider subscribing. Please consider continuing to support the Do Something Tour. Facts Still Matter, at Facts Still Matter, Cash App, PayPal, Venmo. Links are in the bio. I love you all. See you tomorrow morning, 8 o'clock Eastern time, friends. There's always something to do.